all they're on. They jump right on his head. They found who they need. That's a big shot down. He hooks himself back in. They want it. Kizay's not here, but what was that? It's a pentakill. Go 1-for-1 into Schönfire. Gets slammed into the wall to actually go to Olaf. There's the access shot. And he hits the lumberjack. And a point. Tries he might release the tempo active, but he can never find a second. Chippy is on an absolute tear right now.
Surprise and welcome to day number 3 in our Super Week here. It is Wednesday and I didn't think that we could get any more unhinged than what we already have, but I promise you we're in for a good one. I got Rusty next to me on the couch this time around, Skimmy and Max over there sharing the love scene.
All I want, one day, more than this moment right here, I want our mics to be hot mic'd whilst we're doing the countdown, the intro, and you will just hear madness.
I
You will hear
reckon
chaos.
this is how we get the big bucks. We release it and we put it behind a dono wall.
Patreon. Lose your job, speedrun any percent simulator.
Yeah. Look, it is going to be one hell of a show. We've already kind of hyped ourselves up, but to hype you guys up, let's have a look at what games we saw yesterday because they ended on some interesting notes. Let's put it that way.
Simultaneous waves crashing. They're doing exactly this. Daystar sat there for how long?
Not a hole breaker Fury just yet.
Dante
Stuart does want to
flashing.
group up. Dante wants the kill. He'll look to load down the missiles again. Goes stealth but gets punished. Fog of War just a little bit too strong. And make it a double kill for the Fiora. Why did you come to our lane? Give him a third. There is the triple. Tomasino is the icing on the cake. Nature's Grasp, Roosman in place, flash short again. Magnustorm onto the entire backline. Raze untouched, Bio down. In with the scope, and look at Dongy. Without a Rabadon snap, he's found 4. He would love to get the pentakill. He would love to upset the perfect party. He gets the pentakill. And everybody from Pensnet survives the dive.
The static shift timing on the flight's so nice for Dongy here as well. They get the play to happen. Kevin and Elidoric are on their way in. The resets were happening.
The flash!
He finds it.
The Zenith Blade in. They've got it. They found one. They found a second. And Kevin gets them both. That's what he needed so badly, Rusty.
We saw that penta kill. Oh my goodness, it was amazing. Our first pentakill from the mid lane. Skim, you were the one that brought out that stat.
That's right. Yeah, it's only been 80 carries before that, so quite exciting. Good to see Dongy on the board there repping the fact that, hey, it's not all about these 80 carries. Mid laners can be carries too.
Now, that interesting thing that I was talking about from that highlight and what leaves us in, well, a little bit of an unknown or a position that we haven't been in before is the fact that Pentanet did get a game off of Chiefs yesterday. It does make for some standings that, like I said, might not have seen before, Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, it also adds to, I believe it was Skibby saying it yesterday, or Max actually, it was that the Chiefs are human. The Chiefs are simply human. They can lose games, right? They've gone for that draw. So now we have ourselves a situation where Bliss are going to be tied for first. The question is for how long, given that Chiefs are playing again today. But we're back to where we were in Split 1, guys, right? Like, we've got Chiefs and Bliss at the top of the table. We've got Direwolves, and now Mammoth, which to me is the exciting part of this standing, starting to rise their way up the ranks.
And it is starting to look a bit more like that top 5 we had projected. Obviously not the order I think many of us predicted, but definitely a separation between the top 5 and those 3 other teams fighting for that last remaining playoff spot.
It is similar in our power rankings in the sense that we all had what we wanted in the top 2. Then we knew it was going to be separated by about 3 other teams, which happen to be Direwolves, Mammoth, and Pentanet right now. And then, yeah, like you just said, Max, the Ground Zero Kanga Vertex is now at that hard point where only 2 teams aren't going to make it to playoffs, so you need to start getting 2-0s. This is where you need to start pulling out those 3 points because it's no longer are we going to get first, it's are we going to be able to make it to playoffs. And lucky for them, they do have a chance to try and get more of those points. The last thing you want in that first matchup is a draw if you're Ground Zero Gaming fan or if you're a Vertex fan. Our second series is going to be Chiefs, Direwolves, so again, potential for Chiefs to pull ahead and reclaim their slot on the top of the ladder.
Yeah, I'm for sure looking at that first series, though, as the one that's exciting, because if it is a 2-0 win in either direction, that basically almost assures you playoffs compared to the 2 teams that you're versing, right? And Ground Zero versus Vertex being pretty much equal on standings, 1 map separating them, super crucial match.
And to speak to your point, Zach, this is probably the last chance either of these two teams really have for a 2-0. Ground Zero take on Chiefs and Direwolves for their last 2 games, and Vertex have taken on PGG Mammoth, right? So realistically, if you are going to get those 3 points on the board, it's today.
I mean, look, there's been upsets before in the history of LCOs. So some teams, it's at crunch time where any issues that have happened in the past few weeks, it's either going to make or break you guys. You're either going to learn so much from it, or you might potentially crumble under the pressure. Obviously, we want to see these teams make it. We want to see it be as competitive as possible. But yeah, this is the turnaround point, I think, of whether you are going to be making those playoffs or not.
Yeah, also for the teams like the Chiefs, right? They've actually shown that they are fallible, that they can be beaten, and that's the perfect time for them to do the same thing, right? It's that point in the split where everyone should find that loss, find that improvement.
Yeah, if you got the +4 Uno card in your hand, just slap it down right now. You don't want to leave anything on the table, that's for sure. But Skimmy, you've been time and time again telling us that there is a certain item that you want to talk about, and well, I've decided to give you your own little segment. We are going to coin it Skimmy's School of Static Shiv.
What a character
so good.
I am. That is so good. I need that. That's my show reel complete.
And that's
15
our
seconds.
teacher, Skimmy. Now he's going to teach us about some
Take us to
Static
class.
Shiv.
Hear
Yes,
ye,
please.
young students of my school. Static Shiv is Omega Broken Rusty, and everybody
Listen to
loves
the
it.
Rusty,
I'm
look at
rusty
you.
now.
They absolutely love it.
We got him.
And look, I tell you what, mate, it is so good for so many reasons. Now, LeBlanc on this patch 13-12 has been permabanned. We saw it debuted with Daystar on 13-11. He said, look, guys, look how strong it is. We even have a graphic for that. Oh, what do you see? Oh, 12-0-2, kind of strong. Did about, well, I want to say a quarter of his entire damage overall. We finished that game with 41k to his name, probably the highest, just from some quick math off the top of my dome. But look at the Flame Horizon, nearly a double Flame Horizon. This guy sees a minion, takes a minion, and then takes your wallet as well. So he's just living his absolute best life. But now, this has been spreading like wildfire. The rest of the LCOs have become believers. They've joined the church. They are disciples of what it is to look to get tempo, to get control, just to basically look like you can play the game at a very high level. Static Shiv across the board. We got Akali's, we got Ari's, we got Varus. Why not? Maybe a cheeky twist of fate in the mix of things, because you know what? It wouldn't be a meta without bringing out the old cobwebs and showing something new. Now, for me personally, I want to see some other champions in the mix. I think we got AP Zeri. Yep, Zeri got nerfed. But AP Zeri is back. Another variation, your favorite champion that farms up those pentakills might be coming back to do it in a slightly different fashion. And if I was to try and chuck at a curveball some new champions that I think could be a little bit exciting, you got the likes of like Kennen, you got Echo, there's a few others as well. Zoe is another one I think is viable. I'm trying to think of champions that could be played. But I mean, Ezreal, we've talked before. I think Caitlyn is like a little bit out there. And then Twitch. Twitch is another one I think could be actually quite exciting because it's got the AP and the AD ratio. So some really cool champions out there. And look, it started with one person, and now we've got Static Shivs on both sides of the risk because it's like, hey, you got too much push, too much tempo, too much side laning ease. So I'm just expecting to have a game where we have it like in mid lane, in bot lane, in top lane.
You want in all lanes in one game.
I want it. It's just going to spread like wildfire. 1 to 2 the next minute. Oh, look at us. Look at us.
Everyone's running. Before you know it, you're supposed to be picking it up.
Absolutely. Bard, Static Shiv, it's viable.
Say less, man. I agree. Bard could unironically run that item and it works.
It's going to happen. So there you go.
I appreciate you passing on your knowledge of Static Shiv there to the young believers, the new investors into Skimmy School of
and
Static
if we don't
Shiv.
get any Static Shivs today, then I will be very upset and be making more funny faces for my next show reel.
Yeah, that was so good. I loved that intro for sure. I thought we could do something fun on the fact that it is a super week. We've got this bonus day here, this Wednesday that you guys are all watching at the present moment. And I'm going to bring something new. We're going to do some champion bingo. We have 20 champions. We're going to pop them up on our screen and we're going to do a draft. Sort of like picking order of our champions here. So you guys, you can take your screenshot and you can even join along at home. But for us, the way we are doing this is we are going to take in turns of picking one champion, sort of like Snake. So I'll start. It'll go Rusty, Skimmy, then yourself, Max, and we'll come back. And so we'll end up with 5 champions each. And the whole goal is you want to pick champions like you want to choose champions that will be picked today. And whoever ends up with the least picked champs on their bingo card will have to do a little bit of a punishment at the end of show.
And to clarify that, it's champions that are just picked bands
Just
that
picked.
count, right?
Yeah, so the reason why I decided to go with just picked champs is because you need to now find this fine line of picking something that's in meta, will be most likely picked up, but not so meta that it gets perma-banned in our 4 games today.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll also.
Oh,
mark them
cross
up,
them off,
so it's-
okay.
Start us off, Nat.
See, the
You're
funny
the
thing is,
broken
I
champion.
prepped this segment and everything,
Everybody's
and I don't
judging
even
you.
know what I want to start with, and I gave myself opening pick. This might have been the worst
Captain's
thing
draft. Here we go.
I could
NBA.
have ever done for myself. I'm going to start off with Viego. I'll take him
Viego?
for myself. Yep.
It's me now, right? We go this way?
Yep.
Yep.
Pick.
Kaiser.
I respect it.
Kaiser all day.
Kaiser, good pick. Good pick. Okay.
Thanks, man.
I'm gonna go for
How
a.
you did
I'm
me.
gonna go for a Scion.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That
good
has
pick,
been
good
the
pick.
5
Yeah.
pick.
Good pick.
Yeah,
That's
Good
a
pick.
great fifth pick,
Oh.
actually.
Now I regret
Okay.
everything I've done.
I'm feeling pretty good here. I'm going to take Nautilus, the champion that's never banned but is always picked.
True.
Oh, it's a very good pick.
I love this champion. And then,
I was going to say
since my
snake
pick-
order, so you
And
get to go
then-
first. And then?
I'm going to go with Cassante because it hasn't been getting banned as much as we normally see.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think we could be seeing it
I think I'm
tonight.
going to be screwed here.
It's a bit risky bisky, mate.
Yeah, it's already looking rough.
Yeah.
Okay. With the options that are left available for me, you know what? I think I'm gonna go for Nephilios.
Aphelios?
Oh,
Yep, I think I'm gonna.
For some reason, I thought it would make it all the way back to me with that champ still in the pool.
Well, I will slam a Vi.
Dang it, bro! That was going to be my one.
Ah, sucks to suck.
I'll go
You get 2 now.
with Draven.
Draven?
Yep.
Don't sound so
The
confident.
certainty in that.
get to go again.
I know,
Draven?
but because I was like, I was tossing up between 3, right? It was Draven, Zach, LeBlanc. And the only reason why I don't know if I really want to go LeBlanc is because she is kind of being permabanned, right? But that does mean if at any point she gets let through, slammed, guaranteed pick. But is she going to get let through? So
That's the question.
that's my 50-50 right now, if it's going to be Zach or LeBlanc. And I might be doing myself in here by picking LeBlanc.
There you go.
All right, well, I'm just going to go Ari then.
Damn it!
Okay.
I think that one's just going to be picked at every game, Nat. Oh, you missed that one.
I thought about it as being my opening one, don't worry.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Pick
I'm
3
towing
in the
the
draft.
line, okay?
Skimmy's draft, pick 3.
Oh, it's me. I was actually looking at Max. I was like, yeah, where you going, man? Jace.
Dude, everyone's taking my picks now.
It'd be rude not to,
I'm-
mate.
I'm-
It'd be rude
That's
not
the
to.
idea.
Yeah.
yeah.
Nothing that's left, I think, will be played tonight. I'm
Damn,
gonna
that sucks for
say.
him.
Surely.
I'm gonna say Emilio
Surely.
is gonna be
Yeah.
my first pick here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And second, I'm going to go for. I'm gonna go for Lucian. I'm just gonna say
Okay.
Lucian.
Lucy
You know,
Goose.
2 birds, 1 stone. Maybe we'll get a
Respectable.
Lucian Emilio.
Respectable.
That's true, actually. Yeah, you could get it in one draft.
Can I just say, I think Skimmy and Rusty right now have the most well-rounded picks.
We got a pretty meta comp, quite
I would
honestly.
say
I'm-
that's why we're on the caster couch, but
I'm
I would
actually low-key molding at this.
lie. You next to me,
Okay,
with
what
both
would I
of my
like?
picks available, didn't pick them.
Decisions are decisions. I'm gonna go for Fresh.
Yep.
Thresh?
Yep.
Staple pick.
Why Skimmy?
Well,
Fresh Aphelios.
then
Like
I guess
peanut
I
butter and
will
jelly.
just go for Nah.
No.
All right, well, I'll pick myself up a good old Zach here, and
Yeah.
then I'll go...
Mix it up that way.
Bro,
Oh, does that
and
hurt?
you're going to make it the only one. Can I show everyone this? Rusty is ticking them off, and only Zach did he tick as the wrong way. All of them are the same way except this one.
I'm next
He's
to
a
an
monster.
engineer, I
The
know.
OCD.
He's a monster.
Wrong.
Yeah, kind of now in the realm of probably not going to get picked up at all. What do I have already picked up for myself, though? I got 2 junglers, a mid, and
An AD.
80.
You got a support, you got a top laner,
Yeah,
jungle,
that's...
mid.
The funniest thing is, I was contemplating between Camille and Blitz
Are you a
here.
metal fan?
I'll go with Camille.
Camille?
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
Don't worry. I'll go Blitzcrank.
Blitzerino. What do we got left, mate? We've
Alright,
got.
well, you pick mine,
Oof,
and you pick yours.
that's a
Yeah, you
dicey
pick it for
one.
both of you. You could really screw them over here.
Not really. I think we're screwed either way. to be honest.
These last ones are tough.
In the interest of Static Shiv, I would be going Corky.
Okay. Which means I will select Nocturne.
As the one option left, I'll pick Nocturne.
Can I also just say, looking at them finished, I've just built a comp.
Yeah. That's what I was looking at. I was like, I don't have a support. Who needs a support? If you make a game last long enough, no one's a support anymore.
Like there is a like a non-0% chance
That's
that
actually just a drop
I'm
that
done
comes
in
up.
game 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Blitz is like the only question mark
Yeah,
one. Like
big
you'd
time.
obviously I think everything you have, and then sub in like a.
I've got
a
Jungle
North set.
Scion, actually.
Yeah, true. Pardon?
I've got Jungle Scion.
Jungle Scion?
Yeah.
That can slap.
It can slap.
See, this felt like it fell off really hard for me towards the end because like the first two were really good, and then beyond that, once it got back to me, I was like, ain't nothing getting picked.
So do we want to like, we'll write these down between games, make sure we have them, and then we'll come back and...
I've got Skim in mind written down.
Oh, I think
I didn't write ours down.
Productions.
I think they're going to be checking in every soft
Yeah,
day.
we'll be checking
Cool.
in. Like I said, guys, you could play along as well if you wanted to pick yourself 5 champs. You could have. And what's going to happen for us is that, yeah, at the end of the show, whoever has the least picked champions on their personal bingo card will be doing a form of punishment. So you're going to want to make sure that you stick around for the whole day. We'll be tuning in and out of who gets picked. And
You're in danger.
I didn't want to bring it up. I think Max is in more danger than me for this.
Cup.
I think if I were to rank this, it'd go Rusty, Skimmy, myself, Max.
She's doing you dirty, bro.
I'm the analyst for a reason.
Yeah, true.
Hopium.
Another thing that I wanted to bring attention for you guys is that we do have a community night this Friday. I talked about it yesterday. I talked about it on Monday, but I'm going to talk about it again because !Discord in chat will give you all the details you want. You can sign up. It's going to be myself, Rusty, and Skimmy will be joining along playing some games. So you can either be flaming us on the other team or molding with us on the same team.
And I heard there's a new surprise that Mordred has not announced just yet. We're actually all going to be playing on the PTR, playing this new 2v2v2v2v2v2v2 mode,
Huh.
and having a great time. And now Mordred is very quickly figuring out how to respond to that.
Yeah, I was going to say, he's either mad because you actually did take away his secret, or he's mad because you just made him do something on
And
the
no one
spot.
will ever know.
no one will know the difference. We obviously are calling on you guys again. We got from the fans. I believe today is going to be show us your favorite emote using #LCO on Twitter. So whether you want to describe it to us and maybe we can play a little bit of charades with it, or if you wanted to send in a photo of what your favorite emote is, then #LCO. Mine is a Skimmy emote. That's my favorite emote.
It's gonna be the 10th.
Happy bee.
Happy,
Sad bee.
Sad
Angy
bee.
bee.
Angy
Get
bee.
a better name, O said Mad Monkey, to express myself to my teammates in solo queue.
I don't know what the Mad Monkey is.
No, neither.
Are you guys familiar with...
There. You can just see it right between Skimmy and there you go on your knee.
Oh, is that the
there.
monkey with the
Okay.
cocoa?
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
That's actually quite
That's
good.
an angry monkey.
That is best. I do have that in my
What is he
repertoire.
wearing? Is that like a Santa Claus hat?
Almost does look like
It
that.
does look like
doesn't
a bit of
it?
Santa Claus hat.
That is a good one.
Yep, I like that one. Do we have another one from the fans? Any more submissions? We got one more popping up here. Because he said something just hits different with Graves staring at you. What could he possibly be thinking? Big old cheeky grin.
I will have stayed from
No,
comment.
you gotta
Yeah, good.
keep closed.
Something hitting different about Graves staring at you, you know what I
Just
mean?
different, bro.
Does hits different.
The Colgate smile.
The Colgate smile. Let's talk about our teams for this first matchup because I want to get on into it. I want to talk about some League of Legends and how these two teams have been performing. Ground Zero, we already said they're in this dire state where they need to start getting a 2-0. They need to start differentiating themselves from that bottom of the ladder. And on this roster, Rusty, who's going to be pulling through? Who's going to be clutching it up and 1v9ing?
I mean, I think if anyone's going to actually 1v9, it's Big Tron in the top lane. Troning everywhere. Troning is a competition out of the game completely. He is the person I always look towards. It's never a fun time when we see Tron stuck on those tanks, right? But you've got to do what you got to do for the team. We look forward to those Olaf-style games from him. And if it's not Tron, then it has to be the fact that they hydrate relentlessly.
Okay, what is it? The last few days production, I want to LCO montage is just all of our players drinking water.
To go back to Rusty's point there about Tron. I got some stuff I want to say.
that's cool.
I wrote this down.
Next time, keep it to yourself.
Next guy?
To go back to Rusty's point, Ground Zero have the lowest damage per minute out of any team in the league as Skimmy just destroys his laptop. Ground Zero have the lowest
He
DPM.
wasn't drinking water, so I lost my mind. Carry on.
Oh, today's going well. Sorry.
Carry on.
Sorry, Max.
Carry on.
Ground Zero have the lowest damage per minute out of any team, but Tron individually has the highest damage percentage out of any top laner in the entire league with 25.8%. So they have a very low damage team overall because they like to play these high CC, high setup drafts, normally make space for Eiko to carry. But like Rusty said, Tron can definitely come out and prove that he is one of the best top laners in the league.
He's going to be the tough competitor. We'll see what happens in that top lane because he will be coming up against Tomasino on the side of Vertex. And when we talk about...
Sorry, it's just I looked at Max, so we shouldn't have looked at each other.
Okay, all
I
right.
can't explain that.
No, that's fine. You guys are having your own little moment over there. I get it. You'll never be able to sit on the couch together, so you got to take the long distance stairs
actually,
while
yeah.
you can. But yeah, top lane matchup, obviously going to be Tron versus Tomasino. I actually want to talk about Dante and Eiko. I think that that's one of the things that hangs in the balance for these two teams. Skim, Dante, I don't know, how would you describe him so far in the performance you've been met with?
I would say high highs and low lows. His debut was obviously phenomenal. Really announced himself that I am a cut above the rest and I can elevate this team to not be the chirp show, which it certainly was for a long time. You know, a very early stat we found out was that in the majority of the games he was doing 30-35% of the team's damage. It really was sink or swim for them. Dante comes in, makes a massive amount of impact straight away, but then in that series you saw last night, game 1 dies at the level 1 mark. Never really recovered. Game 2 brings it back and looks a lot more competitive, but obviously up against a Titan team like Bliss was never going to really end the way they would have wanted to. So I think what's more interesting for me is the fact that it's going to be Dante going up against his old supporting partner in Bulldog. So it's going to be a case of maybe a little bit of personal pride there, a bit of yeah, Kiwi attraction.
Who do you think is the more aggressive AD between Eiko and Dante?
Well, that's tough because Eiko had moments with Shinky where they die at level 1 as well. So like they both can definitely send it in the first minute if they want to.
I know from experience that I had to stop Eiko from going in all the time when he first started, but I think he's brought that back. So maybe Dante at this point to be like the default aggressor of the two,
I just love that Kai'Sa game, definitely.
And a little bit more refined. And look, maybe you can say some of this stuff to his face because we do have Eiko joining us for our pre-game interview. Eiko, hey, how are you feeling today?
I'm feel pretty excited for the game today.
Awesome.
Can't wait to beat Dante.
Now, I know you're familiar with Rusty. I'll kind of let you guys have a bit of a chat.
Joe, what's up, man? Listen, I know in this match you're against Rosie as well, not just Dante. So I want to know what you know about Rosie. What have you learned about him because you've played together for so long? And what do you think the secret is for beating Rosie and Dante in that 2v2?
To be honest, I've been playing with Rose since I was in a matchup. He has enough experience for the bot lane matchup, so he used to teach me a lot. But I feel like Dante and Rose pretty easy to be in this bot lane because I help Dre, so pretty easy.
You think the support gap is the difference between the bot lanes? You're just more confident in Bulldog?
Yes.
Amazing. I also just want to ask quickly as well, because this is the second team that you've been in the LCO. You've got new players. You just mentioned Dre down there with you. New org, new coaches, new everything. What's that been like for you? Moving to a second organization for the first time.
To be honest, there's nothing special. To be honest, the Kangai roster kind of similar to Ground Zero. They are all same age as mine. So I don't think it's special or something like that. No, nothing.
When you did end up making your change between the two teams as well, we saw you have a bit of a name change. Was there any reason behind it or any special meaning behind Eiko over Hoopa?
Yes.
Okay.
Guys, the Hoopa name is not my actual. I created the name. The name Hoopa just I took some YouTube, some random people. So I just want to create a name. So Eiko. It's been glory in Japanese.
Oh, that's awesome. That's such a cool username.
That's actually a really good name. Final question from me. Are you abusing Static Shiv in solo queue? You got any champions that you're abusing right now?
Yes, a lot. Kai'Sa, Aphelios, Varus, Zeri. Yeah, it is really broken static. You can be on LeBlanc's Ari. It's just the most broken item I've ever seen.
It is broken.
Yeah, very broken. Eiko, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate all your answers. Good luck in today's match.
Thank you. Have a good. Bye-bye.
Bye. Love knowing the lore behind Eiko's name now, but also that apparently he's a new subscriber to Skimmy's School of Static Shift too. He listed pretty much everything you did, Skim.
Good boy.
Oh, wow.
Taught him well, Skim. Gave him everything you know, huh?
You love to see it.
Love it. It's a real knee slap of that one.
Good grades, mate. Good studying.
Yeah, what would you give him? A? A plus? S?
See after this game, right?
Well, we will have to see after this game.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That's fair call. You know, there's only so much theory. You got to put into practice too.
It's true.
Thanks, Kim. You're a man of many words,
Yeah,
aren't
he's really
you?
helping
Hey,
you.
Put your head in
I'm
the
trying
box.
to have this conversation about Static Shiv, and you're like, yeah,
Yes, mate. Good boy.
Good
No, but you
mate.
know what I enjoy?
putting me in a hard position.
I low-key like making it awkward. I
It
low-key
wasn't
love.
awkward.
Low key.
I low-key
Yeah.
love seeing you ask me something, and I'm just like, yep, and you're just like,
Were you a pro player in a past life?
in
Yeah.
a different game.
Yeah,
Oh, you've
yeah.
got it in you, yeah.
I am very bad at this game,
hmm
but I make up for that with personality. I hope.
Yes. Yes, you do, Skim.
You just
yes,
shook your
you
head
do.
at the start there.
Yes,
a
you
little
do,
bit.
Yes,
Skimmy.
you do.
make up.
That's cool, guys.
So much fun.
That's why you're on that couch.
Straight up, talk to him.
Yeah. Look, we get to see another personality on this broadcast as well. We got Chirp from Vertex joining us. Chirp, hey, how are you feeling in your matchup against Ground Zero today?
Confident?
Yeah? Why so confident? Last time we spoke to you, you know, there was a little bit of unease, but is it just the opponent you're coming up against, or do you think you've really solidified yourself as a mid laner in this LCO?
I don't know. I think just the opponent more.
All right, that's understandable.
Fair, fair. I mean, question for you directly as well, Chirp, is you've been getting ganked a lot in mid in your games. It's very clear that a lot of teams are attacking you in that middle lane. Do you think that that's something that, like, you are working on fixing, or it's your opponents that are attacking you directly, as if that's a weak point?
I have no idea.
You have no idea? Would you?
I have no idea why that's happening. Maybe just because I overextend a bit, probably.
All right, well, related to that, is there something that you are personally working on that you're trying to get better at, right? Because there's very clear factors that I'm sure the team has noticed through all of these losses.
It's like, it's been communication a bit, like just talking about like what's happening with my lane, when I need jungler and stuff like that. It's more like just working with my jungler for the most part.
Working with the
Working with
jungle.
my support.
Where would you say you are, like, relative to other mid laners in the league? You say, like, you're a top 3 mid right now? You just haven't had the chance to show it yet?
I think I'm good at laning, I guess.
Not so much outside of the lane? Because I feel like you're a good team fighter. I've seen so many good moments from you in team fights.
Yeah, I'm good. I think I'm good at team fighting. I think I'm good at laning. I think those are my strengths.
Okay.
Awesome. I do have one more question as well. I want to chat a bit about this patch. You know, you guys have already been able to play on it once in your officials. Is there anything else champ-wise that you want to bring out? Do you think this patch really suits Vertex and you just need a little bit more time to cook?
I've got a good champion pool in mind. Am I not allowed? I'm not allowed to say, right?
It's up to you. You know, you can say what you want to say. We would love you to say, but you know, obviously other people will watch the VODs.
Yeah, I won't say.
Okay.
Yeah, we were so close. I should have just said yes. I should have just said yes.
That
you could
tension,
say.
though. Oof.
I thought you were going to spill the beans there. Look, that's totally understandable. I tried. I shot my shot and unfortunately didn't work out. But, Chirp, thank you so much for joining us. Good luck in your matchup today.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Wow.
I think we might have intimidated him a little bit. By the way, you also, normally we're on the same wavelength, like everything, but you straight up yoinked one of my questions
Did I?
without knowing. Yeah.
Damn,
I'm
look
mad.
at me go.
Tough.
This is what happens when I'm on this couch.
I shouldn't have given him to, like, let him have the chance to go first with questions. Because last time we spoke to Sherp, he was like, all I want to do, like, what would be a win for me, even if we don't make playoffs, is to solidify myself as a mid laner. Like, I want to prove that I'm up there with some of the best. Like, that's what I'm here for. And I was literally going to ask, does he think he's done that?
Well, Nat, he currently has the highest damage percentage out of any player in the league right now.
Actually,
Yeah. So he's doing pretty well for himself.
he's got some stats under his belt. Maybe a little bit more confidence. Maybe he is confident. It just doesn't come through in interviews.
I think it's that duality in that he's the second highest damage per minute just behind Chaz, I believe, for a mid laner. But then, like, you have all this damage, but then you have all these deaths associated with it as well, right? So, yes, you are, you know, really going aggro in the lane and looking to try and command a lot of pressure. And, you know, there's times where 1v1 into, like, Daystar, for instance, you're thinking, hang on, like, it's looking quite good. But then you are overextending, you are getting caught out of position, right? And you are realizing it's not solo queue anymore, right? So I think those are the growing pains that they have. But obviously there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah, just reel it back in a little bit and you could hit that full potential. Let's see what side selects have given us here. All right, so Ground Zero and Vertex both favoring blue side here, so they're going to pick it up for themselves respectively, and that does mean that there's going to be that changeover. Game 1, we're going to have them Ground Zero on blue side and then Vertex blue side.
What's interesting to me is that there hasn't yet been a consensus first pick on patch 13.12. We've seen the most the champion's been picked first is twice, and that was Maokai. So besides that, every other team is sort of still trying to figure out what they want to go towards. I know that Rel is obviously something that's popped up very high in priority, same with the Ivern.
Yep.
But I don't know whether teams have actually learned these champions. We'll talk about this a bit later in the later series, but they've been available and teams have either banned them on blue or not picked them at all. So to me, there could be still that adjustment period before we start seeing those new champions rise to first pick priority.
Yeah, and obviously that could be why yesterday we saw that difference in side select 2, no one really knowing what needs to be in that meta, what needs to be the broken pick or the broken bans. But while they're still figuring out what's going on, you guys can have a say in who you think is going to be the winner for this game. Our Dare fan vote is, you have to take over
Rusty!
Max duties. Show 'em where, show 'em where.
The one
It's off the screen.
It is on the screen. Yeah, just down there in the
Come on, Grandpa.
right-hand
Come on,
corner.
Grandpa.
makes it hard.
Give us the flex.
Looks huge. There's nothing there though. It's all cardigan.
It's all cardigan. Yeah, in that top right-hand corner, you guys can put in your channel points and have a say on.
Let's go,
who's
Max.
gonna win.
Let's go, Max.
So myself
You know
and
who
Skim,
else is different, Max?
1-1. Maximize is going for 2-0 on Ground Zero. Wayne with anticipation. 2-0 Vertex.
No.
Skimmy, come here.
Pleasure doing business with
Pleasure
you,
doing business, mate.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Rusty's given up.
I've given up, have I?
Okay,
He's
you
given
guys
up.
have to, as quickly as possible, state the reasons why you'll be writing a 2-0.
Dante.
Okay?
Oh wait, I'm the other 2-0.
Well, it wasn't Skimmy, not
Okay, well, Ground
You want
Zero are
quick.
taking games off Pentanet. They actually look a lot better than I think their standings show. And I
Okay.
think they'll 2-0 Vertex.
All right, well, you think these teams are going to come out with some consistency. You have faith in the 2-0. Skimmy and I believe in the 1-1, and it does mean that to know who's right on this couch, or these two couches, we've got to jump into Champ Select for game number 1.
Let's do just that then, Nap, and let's get to see really what the first big priority is for these two teams there, Max, as we load it into the Rift for the very first time. A chance to see if anything is going to change. Still LeBlanc and Nico with that 100% presence of just being denied absolutely every single time. What is that first pick then for Ground Zero?
And speaking of that first pick, you know, hovering Rel now, but I think a pick that I'm really anticipating to come out as a high priority one is the Zeri. Both of these AD carries incredibly proficient on it. We know that this new patch has moved it away from the Triforce build more towards the static Navori build has been the main, you know, leader. But talking about Rel coming out earlier, and there it is, first pick for Ground Zero.
It is indeed a Poppy that's come out as a response. Once upon a time, I would have seen a Poppy as a support, and now I got really excited about that one. To act as some sort of niche counter towards it. You look towards the mid lane and you think, okay, what is Chirp going to utilize? And we do know he's a very proficient Syndra. Syndra's also got some phenomenal peeling potential. And if they are going to have these AD carries that need that space created for them, then Syndra fits the bill.
Definitely able to put pressure on those AD carries, but I think it's interesting how Vertex have approached this in terms of attacking Emphasis champ pool, right? You take away the Ahri, you take away the LeBlanc, and then pick up the Syndra. That's basically Emphasis' 3 big, you know, mainstays of his champion pool that are taken away. The Annie's going to be the response, so loses a bit in range to the Syndra, can fall victim, but, you know, those flash tibbers, those multi-man flanks you can find, certainly able to explode with the likes of Rel and Jinx in a skirmish.
That it certainly can, and that's sort of what you're really banking on Ground Zero finding in the very early portions of this game, is the ability to, you know, find ways that they can utilize these first 3 picks to get the advantage over their opposition here. What do Vertex look to lock in before the next set of bans come around? You've got the Denial with the Poppy, you've got the Engage, I suppose, with the Syndra as well. And with Zeri up and available, it is going to be the Kaiser that gets Denial, as we know that both also love this champion as well.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting Kaiser pick here. You sort of see the Poppy coming out early and thinking, okay, we're going to play a bit more of a disengaged style, peel for our AD carries, perhaps a front to back. You have the Syndra there as well. But Dante's saying here, no, I want to get into this backline. I want to find someone immobile like the Jinx. And so to me, that really speaks to Vertex drafting some high CC, high engage on their 4-5 to supplement this Kaiser.
It almost feels to me like they just want to outplay you through mechanical prowess more than anything, right? And obviously paying a lot of attention to those pocket picks. You already mentioned those going towards the way of Emphis in the first rotation. Now the Olaf comes out, making sure that Tron can't look to try and take over the game individually and really punish Tomasino, that has been, for the most part, stuck on tank duty. We know that he can play the carries, but begs to differ if there'll be that possibility in this draft.
And the question remains, Kimmy, you brought up the fact of a Poppy flex. I'm still not 100% confident in saying that this is going towards the top lane. You know what I mean? I think that picking Poppy this early on in the draft, yes, it's got a good interaction to Rel, but realistically, that's not the only reason you're going to pick it, right? It's not like you lose the game instantly for the Rel. So to me, I'm thinking, are they holding this as a potential flex? Jungle Poppy was a thing ages ago. I have no idea how it's performing on this current patch, but I still think there's a bit of flexibility left with where this could end up.
Absolutely, and you absolutely hope so at the same time as well. If you're locking in that early to say that it could go pretty much anywhere. Pantheon going to get it denied away. A champion we've really not seen, too often. I think the only time in recent memory would have been BioPantheon when they played for the macro pressure, utilized that over in PCS as well. But clearly some tech that they've got that they want to make sure Ground Zero can use against them. It's going to be the Nautilus as well as the Rakan. Really looking to try and limit the impact that Rosie can have into this Rel.
Yeah, so what do you head towards here, right, if you are Rosie? Alistar into Rel, potentially good interaction there, can headbutt her outside of her crashdown, as well as providing a lot of explosive engage. That being said, you're leaving an angle where Sars is potentially unbanned, and that feels very bad to happen, and it is going to be the Alistar coming out, so a lot of explosive power around this bot lane early. Yeah,
the Alistar is going to find infinite value, as you already mentioned, the ability to try and become immune to that CC and almost interrupt the flow that Ground Zero will be trying to create for themselves. How do they look to try and further this comp now? You've obviously got a clear initiation plan, but you need some way to sort of find a flank or find maybe even a split pushing threat or so. We know that Tron certainly isn't too shy towards that, but Gooby says, look, Shaco is coming back out, a champion we just don't see. It's just him and Poltron.
This is the Gooby special, though.
It is.
This is the pick he's rose to fame on. He is known for playing this Shaco, and it's been ages since we've seen this in competitive. I have no idea what to expect, and that is such a spanner and a favor for Ground Zero when your team, the enemy team, has no idea what you're going to be doing.
Has he just lost his mind because Sorley said, I play Ivan and you can't play the game as Viego? He said, you know what, screw this, I'm playing Shaco. I'm going to have a little bit of fun in this game. It's going to be the fifth and final pick here as a Cassante to round things out, as Rosie is going to be the final pick for them to give us the grand reveal, really, as to where this Poppy's going to go.
And it is going to be the Poppy jungle here with the Renekton being locked in fifth. I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of that particular pick. You have a very low damage top jungle, nothing to really put pressure onto this Cassante. We've seen in the past as well, Poppy quite fine into Cassante in that 1v1 matchup. But it's sort of one of those situations where, okay, we've saved our fifth pick to a potential jungle top. What counters Shaco? Like, realistically, how many games do you have in scrim practice playing against the Shaco? I would wager 0.
Sure.
So there's nothing really good in terms of this is a straight counter pick. So it is going to be very much based on how they play around these lanes early. I'm expecting a lot of attention from Gooby towards the bot lane.
Yeah, and I think there's a massive emphasis, as it has been really on Vertex all split long now, that the Syndra and Kaiser have to get going, and if they fall behind, you're not really hedging your bets on a Poppy or a Renekton to look to really steal the limelight, right? So if they get farmed, if they can get powerful enough, then there's a chance of hope. But I think if you look at Ground Zero, you've got the strength of what's strong in the meta right now, and then the craziness of the jungle pick as well.
And good setup in every single lane from Ground Zero, right? Even if you are looking towards something like that Cassante in the top lane, wherever Shaco goes, he's going to be able to, burn summoners, potentially find the kill as well.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking at him to sync up with his laners, and Gooby, he's smiling in the player cam, he's having fun, he's ready to wreak havoc on Summoner's Rift.
I'm sure Tron is happy as well. Said, look, I'll play a tank, but it's probably the tank that I'm quite happy to play. And, get me off Bjorn, put me on this, and then, myself and my jungler are very happy in terms of how this one's played out. And I'm curious to see really where this, whole series goes, because as you saw, we've got, 2-0s, 1-1s. I'm believing that, blue side may just favor both teams. I feel like, personally, Ground Zero got more than they could really bargain for. They're going to be feeling a lot more confident about this coming into the draft, or rather loading into the Rift. I'm curious, though, in your take, how are Vertex going to look to try and get past this big hurdle and navigate the Shaco attacks?
So it definitely comes down to early tracking, right? And I think a lot of that is going to stem from the mid lane. Syndra into Annie, potentially able to fight for priority, get some wards onto the Raptor camp, other camps, because you need to spot Shaco when he's clearing his jungle. If you leave it up until a situation where he's able to get towards the lanes, it's going to be incredibly hard to fight him because he can come from all those weird angles with his Q. So to me, it is going to be about these laners from Vertex pushing in early, finding these wards, and potentially being able to spot out Gooby before it's too late.
You can see them right now, grouped up is 4. Almost as if they're expecting Vertex to make a maneuver in for a bit of a cheeky level 1 play.
Well, that's a very common thing versus Shaco, right? As you come in with a sweeper level 1, you clear out all his boxes, make his clear so much harder, but Ground Zero obviously noting that you have Rel, Jinx, level 1, Annie, who could potentially level stun as well, so not really wanting to face check that if you're Vertex. So just a stable level 1 for now, but as soon as Gooby gets off this red, he could be anywhere, Skimmy.
He certainly could be, and I think it's worth, once again, setting the stakes of what this game really means to both these teams. Ground Zero currently tied in 6th place, Vertex in 8th. Both these teams really need a win if they want to try and find that 6th final spot. It looks like our top 5 is pretty comfortable at the moment. Obviously, still a few more games to go, but a must-win.
Definitely a must-win, and it started well from the side of Vertex, right? You can see both solo laners, Tomasino walking into the top side jungle of QB, placing a ward on the blue and Gromp. Meanwhile, Chirp walking in and warding the Raptors, right? So we talk about early tracking being a necessary factor against Shaco, and they've come in with a plan.
That's what you need, and if that plan is going to play out beautifully, then you can play a little bit more aggressively in lane. We were curious if we'd see anything happen crazy on, or early on I should say, in this bot lane. Sure, we'll keep our eyes peeled on that one for the meantime, but there is the tracking that you highlight. Eyes in the sky to note where this Shaco is. And then the mind games between the Rel and the Alistair.
Yeah, no surprises here really. Jinx's range going to allow her to get the push level 1. Alistar not really a champion until he gets the headbutt pulverize both online. To me, a big point of concern as well is this mid lane, right? We spoke to Chirp in his interview about teams wanting to attack him and that being their strategy.
Yeah.
As Shaco, you can come from so many different angles. He's going to walk over a ward now, but it makes your lane so much harder. Like you said, Chirp wants to play aggressive, but if he always feels like there's a Shaco threatening to jump and get an Annie stun on top of that, it makes it so much harder as here he goes, he's for a bit of damage.
That certainly does. Both Chirp and Emphis find themselves at the bottom of the ladder when it comes to gold found by the 15-minute mark. They've had a bit of a rough laning phase, and certainly a Shaco is going to make life a little bit more difficult for that. But Gooby's going to wrap around, having made his presence known. Then going to say hello to Forever, playing the Poppy, and look to try and bully him out, dropping down to 50%, force him to the top side where there are no camps, and then deny the blue buff.
This is huge. Map splitting here is incredibly beneficial for the side of Ground Zero, right? You don't care about your top lane, Cassante versus Renekton. Neither of them are realistically going to die. If you're Gooby and you're saying, okay, I'm going to be able to spend 90% of my time on this bot side of the map, around my Jinx, around my Rel, I'll take that trade.
And look at Emphis. I mean, instantly goes in with the wall to say, we won't let you cross over to the other side to try and take the top half of the buffs here. Chirp with no priority. Gooby's already done the buff. He's already rotated around. So Forever is so far behind, and he's got to be careful here on this on the scuttle.
Definitely does. There's a bit of trading in towards his top lane. Keep in mind, Tomasino has used his TP already, so Tron gonna have that available, go back to base, heal to full, and have the wave in not too bad a spot. But like you said, Skimmy, Vertex trying to get something back, but Ground Zero defending it so well, using his priority. Keep in mind, Tron is low HP. Tomasino does have the item advantage here if they were to fight for this blue.
Yeah, and Chirp isn't going to make his move just yet. Tron has walked away from the towers. The minions are going to be crashing at top side. Gooby down to 50%. Is going to get that blue buff, so that's 2 to his name. And Forever is still lingering around. He's on vision this entire time. But he wants something. He needs something. And Chirp is now sacrificing his laning phase. Even Tomasino's in amongst it. They are trying to triage the situation of this Poppy.
It's a bit of a shame as well that the ward wasn't a bit further to spot Shaco using that Q, but keep in mind, Skimmy, he has no flash. If he gets over, he could go down.
He certainly could, and that's a flash forward from both Forever and Tomasino. There is the scatter of the week, and they've certainly made that happen. First blood found for Renekton. They would love to get the second. They're committed, and they get it too. As sweet as you like.
Greed is a sin, Skimmy, and greed here is a sin that goes punished. Gooby Q's in, no flash, instantly stunned and taken down, and same for Tron trying to save his jungler, goes in. You're running Ghost, you don't have that flash either, and it's 2 kills immediately. It was a good start for Ground Zero, but those 2 kills swing it back in the favor of Vertex.
That certainly does. As you mentioned, a flashless Shaco running the Smite and the Ignite to be a pest, to be aggressive, to be so damage-oriented, but very susceptible to cheeky plays like that. You said the vision, and they catch it up beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. This time, Chirp able to rotate to the play. Tomasino as well. Gooby doesn't want to see his Gromp go down. The box grants him vision, but plain and simple, you're queuing into a Renekton who has full Fury enabled. You have that W, and I don't even know if he gets... He does get the Gromp, which is a bit of a consolation prize, but look at Tron coming over, trying to use the W to save him, and it's just going to be a kill on the backside for Chirp.
Yeah, Yeah, it's one of those cases, like we've said time and time before, you know, you want to, you know, cut off the limb to save the body, and unfortunately Tron falls victim to a play that his jungler has made. But it is still a Cassante and a champion that is going to be very strong in the mix of things. Those are going to be 2 deterred, I am sure of just that. Forever going to poke his head into the bottom tri-bush now. Look to try and clear out some vision, but Gooby is hot on his heels, as is the bot lane of Ground Zero, ready to make sure that's not going to happen, really.
And you're definitely going to need some sort of supplemental CC if you are trying to take down Forever, especially opting for the phase rush. In a 1v1 against Shaco, he's never going to feel any real pressure, right? Just pops the auto Q, another auto, and runs away. So, to me, Emphasis here has the flash. They're sitting on vision here, Skimmy. This could be a potential pincer.
It certainly could be, and they've said if you're baiting inside the Dragon Pit, we'll just turn our attention onto Syndra. Chirp is gone, Ignite committed, and Gooby connects. Forever bursts into life, and Dante answers back. Emphasis knocked underneath the tower, and the Poppy's damage has certainly delivered. The question now becomes, do we really do much more than this?
Oh.
Well,
meanwhile, top lane.
that is a stun dust seeing the nameplate pop up.
And you can see where he's died. I guarantee you this is one of those Cassante plays where it's a knockback into another knockback into another knockback into I'm under turret for 1,000 years.
No.
I'm dead. But speaking of this initial play, as we see here again, they know Chirp has no flash, so sure, this initial one-shot's fine. But look at where your bot lane is, right? Forever and Dante so far ahead of Bulldog and Eiko that Forever's able to get this knock into the wall, and look at the headbutt from Rosie, making sure there's absolutely no escape from Emphis. Meanwhile, top lane. Yep, it is going to be exactly that.
Oh, no. You've literally called it. Picture perfect, knockback into knockback, make it 3 times, and really, you're hoping that the slice and dice was available.
And this is what makes it so frustrating to play against Cassante as Renekton, right? Renekton, one of those champions who wants to bully, who wants to aggressively trade. You just get so bored of him being a tank and taking no damage. You're like, I'm going to fight. Then suddenly he's an assassin, and you're dead under your turret. So, you know, Tomasino had a good early game play, but in this matchup, you need to stay ahead, or else he just becomes so tanky that Cassante will outscale you.
That's why we weren't too really concerned about the fact that Tron did fall victim to that very first play. He's going to be feeling a little bit better now. Hopefully he's managed to find that individual kill. First Dragon then goes the way of Ground Zero. They're still trailing behind by about 1,500 gold so far. That certainly does feel good for Vertex, but the Herald has spawned, and there's a good chance now of another objective going down as quick as that.
This is one of the benefits of this Renekton to Cassante matchup, is that you can basically guarantee top priority whenever you want. So whilst these two top laners aren't interacting directly between themselves, Tomasino are going to be able to rotate down quicker, like we saw in that Gromp, and like we're seeing on this Herald now.
Easy as you like it. Picked up for 3 there. Forever's going to tick over to level 6 as a result of that one, and try to make sure that their 1,500 gold lead becomes something even greater. Still, though, going to be very concerned as to where this Shaco may be. As we toggle the vision, we realize that Emphis was the target, but Gooby's here. Vincent with the thumbs up and just waddles away, and Rosie completely zoned back. There just to play goalkeeper.
And if Chirp's playing his range well, it's very hard for Emphis to actually get in range for a stun, right? That Scout of the Week always going to be available to push you back. I do like that Gooby is constantly showing his head, though, because it is limiting the options Chirp has to play to move forwards. Ideally, you are wanting to drop his Herald to mid or bot, right? But if your mid laner can never move, you're never able to really threaten a 4-man dive in that bot lane turret, and Eiko and Bulldog can play a lot more aggressive.
To that point, then, do you think there's a particular build you'd like to see Emphis go for? Is that a case that the Rocket Belt would be advantageous because you are very flash reliant to make up the distance? Or is this a case where Leandri is giving them so many bruises, so much HP shred to attain?
I would say absolutely the Rocket Belt. I think when you have a lot of diving champions like the Rel, like the Shaco, you want to be able to get involved in that as well. And like you said, bridging that distance between Chirp and yourself, especially when you don't have flash, is going to be key in finding these little kills.
Let's see which direction Emphis decides to go with, as Forever is making his way down to bot lane once again.
No,
Goes
Alistar
the Super Mega Death Rocket very early on here from Eiko, as it is going to be him copping a bit of a beating underneath his own turret. It's going to be the cannon wave that's going to be quickly dealt with. Dante's going to trim that one out very nicely, and they're deciding now what is the next play. Obviously, we can see that there's not a single objective up anytime soon. Gooby going to jump across the wall. Down goes the Tibbers. Smack bang in Chirp's face. 2 men as he scatters them all the way back. And in with the Magnet Storm locking in place 2 is Bulldog. But is that enough?
Oh, Gooby.
The boxes are fantastic, and I think the Triumph proc has saved him.
Crucially, his clone dies first, gets the 2-man fear that means he doesn't go down in the end. We can already see the potency of this Shaco Annie combo, right? Shaco getting into the fray. Emphis has no fear, throwing out that Tibbers and able to take down Chirp. So just really explosive. You have to be completely aware. They were even on vision, but it's Gooby in the end who gets out scot-free.
That's what I've been enjoying about this game so far, is the fact that there has been so much confidence that I'm just dropping Tibbers on seed. It doesn't matter what we're doing, we're going to make it happen as easily as you like. As you say, it all starts in vision again.
And this is the bait, right? They think it's only Empus. They only see him on the control ward, but it's Gooby who comes over the wall. And that Shaco ultimate is proving invaluable here, as we can see the fear forever. Potentially, if he's able to get another auto onto Gooby, ends up going down to the Ignite, but doesn't happen. And crucially, Gooby living on a sliver of health. So it started out well for Vertex, but Ground Zero getting the better of them time and time again here, Skimmy.
Well, they certainly are. And it hasn't really changed the tune, though, the game overall, though. Still that 1,500 gold lead we mentioned is still the case here for Vertex. A few fights going awry, and a Nanny and a Shaker are starting to find their power. Trying to get a little bit stronger individually. Will certainly make the case of side laning a bit of a menace. Next Dragon up in 60 seconds now. That's to look forward to if Ground Zero want to try and play for a soul point. But Vertex do have the Herald to use as a counter towards that.
You absolutely do, and expect that to be the next play. Both top laners have TP as well, right? So it could even be a full 5v5 around this next Dragon. It's been quite quiet actually in this bot lane. Only one kill going out towards his AD carries. Dante now sitting on his completed static Shiv. So now when you're talking about wave clear, ability to push waves, it's so simple for that Kai. So auto Q, perhaps one more auto on those caster minions at this stage in the game. But it's going to be the Herald drop towards mid lane. There's 4 members of Vertex here.
Primed and ready to go. It's a very small minion wave, but a Herald that will certainly make light work of these plates in just a minute, as Bulldog is going to try and wrap around on the flank and just clear out vision first and foremost before Mr. President in the Shaker comes on through, ready to cause havoc. So, damage done to the mid-tier 1. Quick reset back to base. And a bit of redeployment when it comes to vision to try and get themselves primed and ready for Drake number 2.
Drake number 2 spawning in 10 seconds. Vision being cleared out here. Importantly, Emphas has access to that flash and the stopwatch, right? So definitely able to get into the thick of it and then say, hey, I'm not going to die to, potentially a Syndra ult, potentially a full combo from the Kai'Sa. Definitely a lot of options here as opposed to Chirp, who's just sitting on this Merc Tread's Lost Chapter, not as strong as he'd like to be at this point.
We're not Vertex still strong enough to try and make a play, given that they do have those item spikes online for them. Not to be outdone by the fact that Gooby's gone for the Ghost Blade, so it is going to be the AD variant of Shaker here today. Be very much more in your face. And the Frostfire Gauntlet completed as well here for Tron.
Where is Emphas going?
He's done a bit of a magical journey without even playing Bard so far. Rosie completely zoned across the wall, but does have a flash to try and cause some chaos. TP coming out from both of our top laners right now. As the Dominus gets activated, Gooby jumps in, the rocket goes out, the smite will not steal it. Vertex connect, and so does Bulldog. Jam with a tip, his Magnet Storm lands, and Aiko's gone from the fight. He's low, but he's got range. He is a Jink, and there is a zap, but nobody from Vertex is dying. Dante is standing and delivering, and he gets the double.
Vertex execute that fight to perfection. You think Gooby's going to get the Dragon, but forever has the presence of mind to still smite that. Meanwhile, Bulldog's engaging, but on the backside, everyone's getting zoned by Tomasino. No one can actually get into the fight. And then it's a slow front to back, and Dante, the main victor, coming out 3-0 with the Mountain Drake to boot. Vertex, incredibly impressive in this fight as we take a look again. Look at the initial engage from Bulldog here. Finds multiple members, but there's no one to follow up, Skimmy.
There is none. And I mean, that's exactly what you're looking for. The fact that you need that initial engage, that initial reset more than anything for Aiko, right? With the burst from that Shaco as well as that Annie. Not to be, and as you mentioned, look at the Renekton.
And crucially as well, Rosie finding a really nice knock-up and headbutt into Emphas. Pushes him straight into the middle of his team right away, so he isn't able to use that flash to effectively get a multi-man Tibbers like he would be hoping for. So really good presence of mind. Everyone knows their roles. And Vertex, having predicted 2-0 for Ground Zero, I'm not feeling very good.
No, the wild card of the Shaco so far has been a mixed bag of emotions for me. A champion that we know is certainly synonymous with Gooby and his competitive career. That needs to dust off those cobwebs and conjure a bit of a miracle to bring them back into this one, because mid-game is fast approaching, and what was once a 1,500 gold lead has started to balloon to, what now, 4K?
Definitely getting out of hand a bit for the side of Ground Zero, but this is why Shaco is so seldom seen in competitive, because in solo queue where there's not that high level of communication, you are able to pick off these members, but it's very clear that Vertex there were tracking him throughout that fight, his individual movements, and they were able to respond. If Shaco's team isn't able to get off a cohesive engage, as we saw the Rel engaging by herself, and he having to flash defensively, it becomes very hard for him to do anything. He's just a Yomu Shaco, right? He's just going to be standing there and getting taken down, so unless they're able to have these engages sync up more nicely, it's going to be really hard for Gooby to do anything in these fights.
Definitely limits a lot of what their identity is as a comp, what it was built to really try and facilitate. You want to be aggressive, you want to land that killer punch, you want to try and overwhelm them with pressure from multiple angles and layers of CC, which, as you say, are being used defensively. Kind of defeats the purpose of it, and is allowing these very nimble members of Vertex then to just shine as a result. Second Herald picked up then by Vertex. They've used that to complete the damage done in the mid-tier 1. And instantly turn their attention towards top lane, looking to try and collapse onto Tron.
There's no wave here though, so it's not going to be realistically able to dive. Instead, just going to stare at him, say, hey man, how's it going? And move back to their original roles towards this mid lane. But as we see the mythics coming third for essentially everyone on the side of Vertex as opposed for Forever, who has opted for that Sunfire cape, they're hitting their spikes here, Skimmy, and third dragon in 2 minutes rather. Expect a lot of action.
Just whilst we have a moment, I know we deliberated a lot during the draft as to what this first big poppy would actually mean, where it would be going, what the flex would entail, but I feel like there's a world in which we could start to see more and more of this Kaiser and also have that be flexed into the mid lane as well. Same build, different matchups, of course, but I feel like if the mid lane matchups are going to go back to, you know, your Castantes, your Gragas's and the like, surely there's a world where Kaiser starts to flourish there too.
Chirp. Oh, Emphas wanted that so badly. The Rocket Belt, he was probably less than 10 units away from getting a Tibis done there that would have ensured the kill, but Chirp gets that burst of movement speed from the Ludens, from those tier 2 boots and the flash, manages to get away, but now you're a Syndra playing with no flash in a side lane versus Shaco. It's almost a certain death if you're pushed up beyond a certain point.
It certainly is, and you're going to be very much reluctant to make any grand movements in that regard. I'm going to be a little bit more defensive and looking towards the Kaiser to try and make that happen in the side lane to decimate the waves, and even Tomasino, knowing that TP is up and available for him as well, to try and dictate the pressure and soak up.
There could be a TP to the Shaco box. It's coming out now, Skimmy.
It certainly is, and in comes Emphas as a result as well. Rocket Belt stun, it'll be fine. We got Chirp, you've got no flash, you're in trouble. Knock him back, and Gooby connects. Gooby gets himself his second of the game. And Bulldog here, just ready to try and zone back the other members of Vertex. But slowly, piece by piece, they're starting to come back into this.
And this is exactly what I mean. Syndra alone in the side lane. Yes, it wasn't the Shaco, it was the TP this time, but there's just so much to pressure her. Vertex thought they were safe because they had members hovering down, but it didn't realize that Shaco box was still available. It had about 5 seconds left before it expired, so really good hindsight from Emphas there to realize that that's a potential play. Now Chirp's down, going to be respawning just before this dragon comes up, if Vertex wanted to look towards it.
What a piece so far, and it was Forever ready to smite that one away, deny Gooby of a potential early soul point for Ground Zero to rally around. It's going to be set up here by Vertex once again, and nobody from GZ is anywhere to be seen. That one's going to be given up for free. Rocket goes across, does not connect. Positioning just a little bit too good there from Forever, who actually smites and leaves it on 1 HP, just to get our heart racing. As Chirp will finish what he started in the bot lane, flashless or not. He's gotten themselves their second turret of the game.
Definitely has, and now the focus shifts towards this top side quadrant of the map. Baron in 40 seconds. Neither team, you'd say, has the ability to really one-shot it like you would have with perhaps in a Zero Phalios comp, but definitely teams have explosive ways to bait off vision around it, right? Annie, Syndra, all these champions, you walk into their range when they're not on vision, and that can be instantly a kill. As Tomasino's found Emphas, but Gooby's here.
He certainly is. He's going to try and go for the 1v2 right now. Does he get denied by the box? Does he get stunned first of all there by Tibbers? Bulldog is on the way. He's slicing, he's flashing, he's trying to deny the vision as much as he can. Crashdown goes across, doesn't connect. Scatter of the week goes on out. The box has been dropped on down, and Tomasino receives a one-man Magnet Storm. Chirk soaks it up. Forever knocks him down. Bulldog has been baited, and the Renekton that you think is meant to be squishy lives infinitely.
Yeah, surviving on a sliver of health there. Bulldog getting incredibly greedy there, going for the flash, thinking he can finish the kill. But this is a Renekton with Gore Drinker, Black Cleaver, and the Dominus pops. He's incredibly tanky. And as we saw Skimmy living through Empus, living through 2 Shaco clones hitting him and still surviving, so a great turnaround from this Renekton.
And to think of Rel, obviously phenomenal with the crowd control, but does negative damage, quite honestly. So there's never really a world in which you crash down and say, I've got this with auto attacks, right? So a perplexing play when you know really your point prior was, imagine the amount of setup that both teams have to try and bait and engage and then turn it around on the Baron, knowing that that has just spawned. It seems concerning.
Here's the problem though, Skimmy, right, is we saw Shaco attacking a side lane with Empus. They couldn't even find a kill. So now who do you go towards? It has to be Chirp, but realistically, he's going to be in the safe lane. He's going to have members towards him. And Vertex starting up this Baron. Gooby's nowhere to be seen, Skimmy.
Certainly isn't, but a TP's going to come on through from the top lane of Tron. Instant flash in there from Tomasino, rather, as we try to make things happen. Eiko in trouble, and Eiko was the one to flash away to safety. Not to be the case! Tron goes all out, looks to assassinate the Fed Kaiser, and his job is complete. Tron has found that miracle that they were so desperately searching for. And Tomasino is going to get zoned back by the Annie. They've denied the Baron play, and both AD carries are on the menu.
We sung his praises in the pre-show, and there Tron delivers, saving the Baron from going down. It's initially a great play from Vertex here. Look how they bait the Baron. The instant they see their TP, they're turning off, and then look at Eiko. They've got Tomasino flanking him. He flashes immediately, but it doesn't matter. Look how much is committed to get on top of him right after this.
Yeah, the cleanse goes out. It's just not enough, right? You just don't have a chance to play the game. Both AD carries baited into a sense of we must fight and just get punished by bruises.
Yeah, definitely a Cassante moment there, getting taken across by the full tank as Gooby's potentially found Chirp in this play-in-play.
He's looking to try and make things happen right now, but it is just literally going to be a jack-in-the-box and a disengage after. Vision going to be the name of the game now instead as they look to clear that out and wrestle for control of the map. They're going to try and find a way to potentially invite pressure towards that Baron, but ultimately I feel like it's not going to happen, and we might just be playing the waiting game of that next dragon in under 2 minutes now.
Well, it's so hard. Ground Zero has to be so methodical now that your Jinx has no flash. There's so many flanking threats like a Renekton, like an Alistar. We've seen Rosie have some creative engages before, particularly around that dragon fight. Eiko has to play so far back because there's a Kai'Sa ultimate coming through. There's a Poppy charging with a million movements in on top of your head. It becomes very hard now to push in and actually get this vision to contest a Baron from the side of Vertex.
And as you quite rightly say, the fact that you are flashless, you are cleanseless. There is a flash in our Poppy, there is a flash on the Scatter of the Week from the Syndra as well, right? So you've got 3 champions suddenly in your face, and you're saying, how do I get peeled from this? It's just impossible.
And it's going to come down to these other members on Ground Zero. Like we can see Emphas hovering up. They're going to have to commit 3 to 4 members basically permanently whenever they want to push out these waves. I'm looking at someone like Tron, but Dante, no flash.
Yeah, just going to get a warning shot right now. Rocket goes out. Splash damage does connect from Rosie, so that means that Dante is forced to go back to base. Now, is this the invitation that Ground Zero are looking for to try and start up the Baron and bait Vertex to face check?
Well, they know Tomasino has no TP. They know that Dante has to base after getting chunked like that. Shaco, with his ultimate, can clear Baron quite fast, Gimme.
Certainly can. They do give it a bit of a crack, take a few thousand HP off him, but decide against it in the end, clearing out Vision being the main focus. Both top laners without a TP, I'm sure, probably screaming, we can't get here in time.
The gentleman's agreement that we're both going to stay here in the bot lane and hit waves while staring at each other and doing approximately 0 damage to each other in our trades. To me, Dragon spawning in 15 seconds as well. It looks like Vertex are going to say this is the easier objective, not going to have to commit as much towards it. And this will put them on Soul Point for a potential 30-minute Soul. Oh.
Look at the poke, and Memphis has gone as well, right? He's got the rocket, but he's got the zone, he's got the flash, he's got everything at his disposal right now to try and do that TP flank that you'd love the Annie to do. But is it too little too late? Is the shoe on the other foot right now? They've been zoned back from the major objective they were hunting to try and find. The pressure continues as Dante chucks missiles across the wall. That is Drake number 3 now for Vertex. And they have sustained themselves that 5,000 gold lead. Might be the ones that now translate their pressure towards the top side of the map.
And this is another factor you have to consider when you're playing against the Kai'Sa with this build, is she turns into a semi-poke champion, right? We saw Emphas getting shoved off, and as Annie, if you're getting, not only damaged but found out like the Void Seeker, which reveals you, it becomes so much harder to find those creative flanks and find that pressure on towards the carries of Vertex. So it's going to really come down to Ground Zero having good setup in the first place and not just running in blindly versus Vertex.
Check in then with a total gold and see exactly where it's all to be found. And honestly, credit where credit is due. Tomasino from the very get-go with that initial play is still at the top of the table. I mean, it's a very rare treat that we have in the LCO Renekton remains this relevant for this long.
Yeah, absolutely. Tomasino crushing it up there. To me, the biggest red flag is Gooby sitting at the 3rd lowest gold in the entire game. When you're a Shaco, as he's found Dante.
Yeah, is it enough though to try and get the killer blow? He's just picked up the Prowler's Claw, the killer instinct in face.
The clone?
Oh, is the clone enough? No, it gets soaked there by Forever. Phenomenal outplay.
Oh,
In with the Magna Storm, down goes Chirp. Look at the HP of Dante, down to 10 HP. It just was not enough. And Tomasino TP's in potentially to his demise. Burnt double summoners, burnt everything. And they've given over so much control and gold.
Right as we're saying, it's looking bad for the Shaco. He finds the initial pick onto Dante. Sure, he doesn't go down, but he lives on a sliver of health. He has the base. That opens up the room for them to take down Vertex solo laners and Skimmy. It's a 3v5. Baron's on.
HP bars may be a little bit low though. Bulldog is already down to 40%.
Keep his verdict.
Poppy can knock you back and can flash into this pit if he so does desire. Has gone in early. There is the Void Missile, there is the damage, there is the strike. Headbutt pulp into the backline.
He's dead.
Shutdown found. Shaco gone. Baron still engaged, down to 2,500. Dante untouched with the Rage Blade ramping.
Dante!
DPS team getting it absolutely done as he flashes in to find his second. He gets a third, he gets a quadra! He gets a quadra into the ace and may have just saved the game for Vertex.
Dante, the young prodigy, finds an absolutely game-saving play there. We're going to take a look at the initial play here, but Skimmy, I'm so excited off that play. I don't know if I'll be able to calm down. It starts off with Gooby finding Dante. Look how low he is, and look at Forever coming in here, using his E on the Shaco clone so the damage doesn't go off and kill Dante. That means he lives, that means he's able to come back and get that quadra kill later on.
Phenomenal. So phenomenal. The fact that it was really the smallest of margins that separated that fight, and you figured Tomasino's come in so strong, so beefy, just unable to survive in the mosh pit of Ground Zero. And the way the Baron goes against him, my God.
And it's the health bars here, Skimmy. Yes, they've got 5 members alive, but look how low Tron is, look how low Gooby is. And Forever, incredibly tanky. He goes in early, yes, but they find the kill onto Gooby, smites down, keep his verdict as well, knocking away Bulldog. And look at Dante, he's untouched this entire fight.
He certainly is. Forever finds the moment to strike. You think, is that too early? The Baron is still too healthy. He makes it happen. And then Dante, as you said, nobody can get to him. Bulldog can't reach him.
Nobody's hitting him. And shout out Rosie, we saw a 2-man headbutt pulverize before, and here's another knockup that secures the fight. Dante flashing forward, trying to get that Void Seeker. Look how close it is there. But that's game saving, that's game winning, Skimmy. And for a player like Dante to come in new to the roster and have a performance like this, speaks to his caliber of a player.
Unbelievable talent. A young prodigy that we are watching with excitement right now. So many summoners were burnt in that affair. I mean, find me a flash, because only one exists right now, and that is Chirp. That was the play. That is the turning point of this match.
And we're back to ground zero, no pun intended, right? We found that initial pick on mid lane, weren't able to translate it into the Baron. We've got to do that all over again if we're to make any leeway. And to complicate matters even further for the blue side, Drag spawning in a minute, Skimmy. There's going to be that Drag and Baron dance constantly being able to threaten as Vertex. Look how dark this is for ground zero.
It really is. They have nowhere to look, nowhere to go. No easy avenue for them to set themselves up. Rocket Belt and Zonya is still available there for emphasis on the Annie. The Vertex are baiting. It was never going to be a full commit to that Baron. They're just too strong. They don't need to lose this game.
They absolutely don't. Going to be very content with just baiting that Baron. Baiting the potential vision, and Skimmy, they can do this on repeat. There's nothing to check for the side of ground zero. Both blue trinkets are down. They haven't a single ward besides that one you're seeing at the top of your screen now. So they're constantly going to feel pressure to walk in, and Tron is just going to have to sell it. But look at Rosie's position.
Yeah, that positioning from Rosie right now is phenomenal. Chilling the Hex Flash, looking for the flank. Eiko is the target. Headbutts him in. That's the Gale forced away. Pulve onto 2, but in the backline, Tomasino's spoken up a storm right now. Chirp has removed Tron, but Gooby has taken down the Fed. 7-kill Kaiser. Rosie living as long as he can, but gets dropped and nuked there by Emphas. And Forever is running for the hills, but the big celebration has to be the fact that Jinx is still alive. Lifestealing up this wolf camp right now, but here comes the hungry Crocodile. And a fade away from Chirp gets himself 2 in the fight.
Tomasino is a ravenous Crocodile in these fights. He's zoning the entire backline. We started out with Rosie getting a nice engage onto Eiko, completely zoning him out of the fight. And then who kills Tomasino? Look at this Renekton right now, almost having that death dance completed, sitting at 10 CS per minute. He is just a beast, and if left unchecked, he can just run through the fight like he did there.
So strong. really is so strong. It all starts with the positioning. Tron has to go in, and Rosie with the most beautiful flank.
Yeah, so this ward is not warded on this flank here. Gets the Hex Flash, initially knocks Echo in, but it is Gale Force, right? And then you see on the bottom of your screen, Tomasino fighting the entire enemy team. Gooby simply doesn't have the damage to take him down, and the Alistar ult affords Rosie so much survivability that he's able to live for so long, not give Echo that reset, crucially, which allows Forever to escape, allows Tomasino to come in and be the janitor and clean up this play.
It was all about zoning. It really wasn't about killing Echo off the board nice and early. They had other targets in mind. They ran them down, and Echo was that final nail in the coffin. Bulldog left at a wayside. They don't really care. Rel does that one killer punch, and that's it. But Vertex have managed to find themselves now. All 4 dragons. They've got themselves the Cloud Soul. Now they've got to live to pay the price with it. Dante was potentially caught out in the mid lane. They knock back one. They stun another. Emphas in trouble, but is able to live. This flash for the second time this game has been burnt defensively. And it was a 4v5. Tomasino split pushing.
Meanwhile, Ground Zero are losing someone as Tomasino is getting a tier 2 turret in the bot lane. They're really able to do whatever, but Gooby could have found Dante here.
Dante's going to be so careful right now. Ignite's not available. He's got to be careful of the clones though, however, as he looks to try and get assassinated by that. He knows. He's scared. He's got the solo Q PTSD. Does he have life still in his runes? Or is that a trip back to base?
But this Cloud Soul Skimmy, it's invaluable against a champion like Shaco, whose realistic only way of getting on top of you is by slowing you, is by using that E, using a smite potentially to get on top of you. And now we've got a whole repeat of the situation before where this Baron quadrant is so incredibly dark. Shaco, he gets hit by a single Syndra combo. I think he dies even without ultimate at this stage in the game. So it's so hard for Ground Zero to push in to find these plays.
And Dante's just picked up the Rabadon's cap, seemingly working towards the Zonius. This is 5th
Two
or 6th
Rabadons.
and final purchase. At that point, I don't think you can shut him down. I think that Static Shiv is literally burst damage through the roof now. He's going to get one banged.
Yeah, that item probably chain kills the entire enemy team here. As we see once again, it's so incredibly hard. Tron's not here. He's your tankiest member by far. Vertex playing, baiting with vision. They know that they're not under any time threat to close out the game now, to instantly win. They can wait for Ground Zero to make a mistake. They can wait for Ground Zero to face check. Gooby once again searching for a player in mid lane, but too little, too late.
I'm just so impressed by the level of step up that both Forever and Tomasino have brought into this game. You know, they've at times been the weak point, but are really bringing their A game in a must-win game at just that. The moment that the stakes are there. Jumps across, does Bulldog, but Forever counters with the Poppy. And the dance continues. Who plays chicken? Who goes for this Baron?
Vertex don't have to do anything though. Look at Tomasino. He's going to be basing now, but really has the freedom to walk in whenever he wants. Bulldog.
Rosie's going to pull the trigger now. It's a 4v5 and now he's TPing in. Oh, Bulldog's gone. It's the worst possible scenario. That is one of your major components of Engage removed off the table. And they are now down 10,000 gold. And all they can do is settle for a bounty in the mid lane.
Gooby's not even going to attempt to steal this. I would say at this point in the game, it's worth almost just the 5% chance that you could potentially steal it. You're going to say, hey, no, we're going to opt for camps instead. But realistically, Skimmy, it's so hard now, right? You're Shaco. You picked to be this explosive champion to get plays going in the early game. Didn't find the success it needed. And now you're playing against the Syndra. You're playing against the Kai'Sa, who, like you mentioned, essentially full build at this stage. Essentially going to be looking towards a stopwatch as well for that cloth armor. It is so incredibly hard, not to, just to walk up, but to make it engage as well.
And for all the credit we gave to Ground Zero, their draft looking more standard, looking more unpredictable, it's not worked out the way they would have hoped for. Vertex have weathered that storm, they have found the angles, and they have found the points of strength that have just caused Ground Zero headaches beyond belief. I mean, they are so incredibly strong in comparison right now, near full builds across the board.
If you're Ground Zero here, your goal has to be to survive to this next Elder. If you're able to do that, you know, there is a world where you have this Annie flashback up, you have this Rabadon's complete for this Annie, which is going to come through right now and provide so much burst damage that you might be able to find a crucial couple kills, but this next minute and a half is really going to be about weathering this storm, protecting as many structures as you can. And that's going to come off the back of Echo.
The timing certainly could be perfect here as the Baron expires, the Elder was spawned.
Gooby?
Gooby's going to try and jump in and look for Dante right off the bat, but in Rosie. Flash into the back line, looking to knock up as many people as possible. Bulldog lands that one killer punch, knock back into the fountain, not going to be found, not going to be what they need. But look at the back line! The Bruisers are back in town, and they've assassinated you! Same could be said there for Gooby, who removes Dante, so no AD carries will be in this base defense.
but the inhibitor is what they're after, and with the Baron-inspired minions ready to take them down, I wonder if they look for more.
I do wonder, Skimmy, they're going to look like they want to head towards this Nexus turret. Chirp is the only real source of structural damage you have left, but instead you're going to say no, we'll opt for the safer route. Ground Zero, they've simply got no damage left. Look at Tomasino. He doesn't take a single piece of damage from Gooby. In fact, he heals from him.
Unbelievable. I know he thought we were going to go for the world tour from bot to mid to top, and we simply are. We are going to get triple inhibitors in one of the most valuable Barons that Vertex will ever get. And then they can go back to base, reset, line their bags with even more gold and items and say, we've got an Elder, only the second Elder to spawn in LCO the split.
A textbook finish here. And what I want to point out here is, yes, Gooby finds the initial engagement to Dante, but look at how Rosie reacts to this, right? Gooby gets on Dante, huge initial flash engage from the side of Rosie, disrupts their entire team. It's again a situation where no one can follow up. With Gooby, no one can actually get on top of Dante, and you mentioned this, but look at Tomasino in the backline. This man is simply unkillable.
Game of his life, quite honestly. This is the strongest he's looked all season so far. Been really impressed by him. And what a game to pull it off on a champion that we once again have a notorious reputation with falling behind and just not being that valuable. We have found ourselves in a pause at a fairly climatic point of this game. But I tell you what, I mean, for the members of Vertex right now, you must be pure jubilation. I mean, we were hyped up after that play where Dante gets the Quadra, and I'm sure pools like this are agonizing because you know the blood's flowing through you. The dopamine is there, and you got to realize, guys, triple inhibitor. We've got Barons. There's Elder to play for. Once again, this is our game to lose. We don't need to do anything crazy.
Absolutely is, and yes, the jubilation, but also some measure, some calmness there from the side of Vertex saying, hey, we will opt for that triple inhib. You get the Elder on top of that. Realistically, one Kai'Sa W, one Syndra combo is enough to completely remove someone from the fight. As luckily, it's going to be a quick pause. We're back onto the Rift. 5 members of Vertex heading from base, heading straight towards that Elder Dragon in 10 seconds.
You wanted to see Gooby make a play towards this Baron, that Hail Mary, if you will. He's going to have to do something about this Elder, but he's not even alive. Max, he's up in 5 seconds. But I think at this point, with full build, the amount of damage that Dante individually does, this Elder's gone before he even gets a chance.
It is Vertex playing way above the line of vision as well here. Dante being left alone to DPS the Dragon, and how do you get in, Skimmy? They're trying to buy time for Gooby, but he's not going to get there in time.
It's do or die, and Rosie's doing such a good job zoning him away. Keeper's Verdict goes out, but it's too shy. There is the Elders being picked up right now. Tomasino's a man on a mission. He wants Jinx. He's hungry for 80 carry blood and just gets zapped on down. Once again, all that Gooby can settle for is a backline one-shot, but it's a casualty. It's an afterthought, and it really is a silver lining that will not get them the result they were hoping for. It is an ace. And a near 40-minute bonanza with only our second Elder Dragon. That gives Vertex the lead in our best of 2.
It's a must-win game. It's a must-win series, and Vertex say, we are not going to go quietly. We are not content with being on the bottom of the standings, and what a way to do it, destroying Ground Zero in Game 1.
Unbelievable scenes here to start off the series like that for the nerves, for the rookies, for the players that are looking to make their mark here on this roster. And a team just kicked it up another gear. Quite honestly, they look so different to what we've seen before. I mean, we talked about the stats yesterday against them into Bliss. You thinking, yes, it's an uphill battle. Yes, it's going to be a monster task. But they said, right, that 6th spot, that's ours. That would be our claim to fame, to try and announce ourselves as the latest team in the LCO.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at those stats yesterday when they did come up against Team Bliss, and when Vertex win, my God, did they win. They are up there with some of the best in terms of stats and how they perform, and it was no different for this win for Vertex. They were amazing in the way that they engaged and they had team fights, Rusty.
Yeah, I mean, both teams, I feel like, had a similar style in game number 1, Shaco and Poppy being the obvious exceptions with the draft overall. So the fact that both teams have said we're going to meet in the middle, we're going to fight at these objectives, kind of always felt like the first objective that goes wrong for one team probably sways the game too hard in one direction, right? If the Annie's fed, suddenly everyone's being one hit. We got the water sip in there in these replays as well.
I'm glad you caught that one.
True to form. And like, this is the first part in the game, right? Where before you even get to those objectives, like again, I just want to quickly highlight this. The composition of both teams excel at killing individual targets, right? Annie can burst one person, Cassante Shaco can isolate one person. Syndra does the exact same thing, and so does the Renekton, right? So when these early skirmishes start to happen, the fact that they go Vertex's way means that they're set up for these exceptional fights around Drakes and around objectives, and that's where things start to go really awry for Ground Zero, because they have to commit to those fights. So They start in a really bad situation, and they just could not find a way to dig up.
Yeah, I was sort of dwelling on the fact that we're seeing more sips coming out from these players. My God, they're a hydrated bunch, aren't they?
Production's doing it on purpose at this point,
It's
honestly.
their own bit. I love it. We're going to start getting a cam of everyone else having a bit of a sip. But back on track about talking about team fights, about this going all in on one target that really does come down to now your team has to have great communication. You all have to be on the same page about your target prioritization. Who needs to be taken out of this fight first, and who are we all able to jump on top of?
And the big difference for me when it comes to the comparison between two AoE CC tanks, I thought Rosie absolutely gapped Bulldog. I thought his impact was profound. I think Bulldog had an absolute shocker, quite honestly, in comparison to the amount of peel, protection, and just flanking opportunity. I mean, you see it once again here from Rosie. His ability, there's the stun from the Syndra. That's my trigger to go. Instant backline access. And yeah, I mean, Ground Zero just shell-shocked.
At first, I thought I was going to come back here and I'm going to be like, Dante diff. Rusty said it. That's the reason why he predicted Vertex to be a 2-0 is because of Dante. And whilst that was a massive factor, it was very much aided towards the support diff as well that you mentioned briefly there, Skimmy. So this is the end game stats. This is what we're looking at. We can compare total damage dealt, but for me, the gold difference graph is the thing that really tells a tale, because you can see certain spikes that you can see that never really went in favor of Ground Zero at any point, always leaning to the side of Vertex. And I think that really reiterates what you said, Rusty, about one objective goes bad, single skirmishes go the way of Vertex, and all of a sudden Ground Zero are behind, and those little spikes are those objectives or those small little skirmishes.
Yeah, or like a couple of shutdowns that they got here and there, right? Like you remember Tron on Cassante finds his angle. Little things like that did happen here and there, but when it came to the most important parts of the game, the most important fights and skirmishes, it was still going Vertex's way. And even then, once they got enough of a lead, they actually closed the game out quite well. They would lose Dante in fights, but they would still have enough damage and carry threat elsewhere. Like Chirp was holding it down, and Tomasino had the game of the split for himself in that one.
He did the most damage that game as well.
Very much improved.
Loved Tomasino's performance here. We obviously talked about the Tron impact, the fact that he'd be coming up against Tomasino. So I think they really were well matched. A lot happened and a lot relied on that top lane. There were other things that we've already talked about, we've sort of alluded to, but you wanted to break down more, Rusty. The first one being this 14-minute fight around Drake, and why this was one of the big things that swayed in favor of Vertex.
Yeah, so this is a big deal because Gooby chooses to go for the Drake. So note that the Shaco uses all of his abilities, his mobility to get over the wall to go for this smite. Not only does he not get the smite, he is now not dealing DPS in the fight at the same time as his support is going in. So this, to me, while it doesn't, like, in the moment look like it's a big deal, if you consider that their comp is about getting Jinx resets, right, getting excited, Shaco is the bulk of that initial damage that comes out. Hail of Blades, Ignite, Lethality build, and he didn't hit a carry once in that skirmish while his team's going. I think it's a clear sign they weren't on the same page with communication.
Yeah, it seemed to be the story of that fight, or many fights in that game, right, where you could see Echo fighting for his life and just saying, I need that one shot. And how many times we saw Emphas had to flash away defensively. You don't get the reset, you don't get the power, you don't have that sort of scary factor as to what your comp's built to do. So I wouldn't be too surprised. Obviously, I know sides are going to flip, but I wouldn't be too surprised if Ground Zero to run it back with a very similar draft. Okay. But the jungle be the only place that anything really gets changed.
Yes, please. Please. I shout out Gooby for as soon as seeing my 2-0 prediction locks in Shaco and has that performance. I think, to me, the main issue here was that Ground Zero didn't actually seem like they knew how to play with Shaco. Like, that was the thing, and I was surprised by that, given how proficient Gooby is on the pick in solo queue at least. But to me, we saw so many times he's going in, but it's by himself, right? Bulldog was never there following up. There weren't any Cassante flanks to match as well. And it's just a Shaco running you on mid lane, you're just going to be able to run away. So to me, it was just a lack of cohesion around this Shaco pick that made it look so useless.
Well, it's funny you say that, because Russ and I were talking about the team comms in the green room, and I was like, I could tell you roughly what most of these champs are able to do, except the Shaco. I don't know what he adds to a comp. I don't know what he does in team lineup. And maybe, unfortunately, a lot of others on Ground Zero were thinking the same thing. Bro, we know you're proficient in Shaco, but how do we play with him? So it is a little bit unfortunate. Not to say that his Shaco performance wasn't great, but that fight, you know, there's 3-4 seconds where he's not doing any damage at all, and that is a really big game changer. Another game changer, another fight around Baron. Rusty, we're going to take a deeper look at that one, because this one really broke open the game.
Yeah, we spoke about, you know, the odd plays perhaps from Ground Zero, perhaps it's miscommunication from Ground Zero, but what I really want to celebrate here is the fact that Vertex actually play really well, right? So I think it's important to celebrate their success. So this fight happens and it starts off rough, right? The initial pick is quite good from Ground Zero. They find Chirp, they find Tomasino, everything is going brilliantly for them. They do make the decision to go towards this Baron buff. Now, I think you mentioned this in the cast as well, Max. They just have no health. So they're going to make a very aggressive decision, very bold decision. The fact that Kai'Sa lives means he gets here for the play. And they don't even execute this perfectly, right? Forever flashes over the wall and tries to hit Shaco and just misses. But Rosie has enough awareness, has enough experience that in clutch moments like this, he's got the right target in mind, right? Finds the headbutt pulverize. And not only that, they've got Dante untouched. He gets a second combo off because he's still positioned knowing that they're here to win the fight. And you want to talk about the difference between a support winning or losing fights. That's what it looks like because he effectively did that without a jungler involved.
And this is the perfect combination of that youthful mechanical talent and that hindsight, like you mentioned, from Rosie to be able to be like, okay, this is what I need to do. It makes Dante look so good because he's able to just hit the target whoever's in front of him. But Rosie, to me, and I know he won't get MVP because he's playing support, but was my MVP of that game.
I just look at how much health Dante walks away on, and now after you breaking it down, Rusty, I'm like, you're right. He gets a full combo off, and there's 2 essential enemy champs that get taken out with him still at full health, and he's able to do a whole nother combo. And it's like, if at any point when there were still 4 of you guys alive on the side of Ground Zero, did you hit Dante once or twice, it wouldn't have ended the way that it did. So
But they were sniffing that A5 Wagyu in the Baron pit, you know, they were busy.
He survived a mid lane with 10 HP. I mean, that was
I
the
know.
difference. It was just
Dude,
criminal.
to hold yourself that strong and be like, no, I'm recalling right here. Like at any point, something could have just hit him in the back line. He was like, no, I'm not canceling this recall. I'm going to go through with it. It was phenomenal. So 2 really big plays, one being a bit of a misplay or misexecution from Ground Zero, and then obviously Vertex just being able to...
Well capitalized.
Oh my goodness, just phenomenal. So I would like to say that it's unfortunate for anyone who went for 2-0 for Vertex. I mean, for Ground Zero.
Yes, it is unfortunate. I'll be
How did
having,
that cut to our show?
I'll be having some words with Gooby after this game. Anyway.
Anyway, let's check in with our bingo as well. If you guys didn't know, for today, for our Super Week, we are doing we're doing champion bingo.
Looking
and
a little
I'm
bit safer.
definitely not nervous at all. So whoever ends up with the least amount of champions ticked off their bingo card will unfortunately have to do a bit of a punishment.
Have we said what the punishment is?
No, I just said punishment, something cringe, something you
Oh,
definitely...
it's cringe.
It is bad.
Oh, it's
you
cringe.
definitely
You
want
have
to
to
stick
wear
around
this.
for.
You have
And
to wear this shirt. And
Nah,
then,
that ain't
and do
cringe.
the action.
doing the action probably.
Do the action. And then go to LCO.gg, use the code SKIMMY10 to get a discount.
Oh, wow. He's turned into why not? Can I just say one thing and
Nope.
one thing only? I don't think, Nat, you're going to get a single champion pick. That's my bold statement. I genuinely don't think any of those champions will be picked today.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't
Maybe,
want to say it.
maybe
I didn't want to say
Viego.
it.
Maybe coin flip for Viego, but apart from that, nah.
Yeah, Babbitt's playing Viego.
No, I don't have nah.
Nah.
New host.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, okay,
Take us to
this
break.
is the reason why I'm like curling up so much. It's I had first pick in this draft. I had first pick. I
You
literally
came up with
could
the
pick-
idea.
I know. I came up with all 20 champs, and yet I still fumbled the ball. Bro, imagine getting first pick and you still get nothing ticked off your bingo card.
Look, that's why
Like, you
Blue Sox
actually
OP.
couldn't hit a lower low. That shit is like the Mariana Trench, you know? Like, that's how deep I'm going here.
It's rough out here.
Yeah.
It really
It's
is.
rough out here being
Roll
a
up those
host.
sleeves, Nat. Time to get dirty.
Oh, it's time
Well,
to get to work.
I never said they hired me for my league knowledge. And they do hire me, though, because I love you guys, our fans, our LCO fans, and I love all the submissions that you give us. Our question today was, what is your favorite emote that you like to spam in the game? And some people have already submitted. We've had some before earlier in the day, and now we've got Deadly G saying usually it's the thumbs up, just plain old thumbs up. However, if the person is raging in chat, I throw in the Ari heart for maximum pettiness.
It's the petty factor.
True.
Yeah, I
Do you
respect
love a
that.
sprinkle of pettiness in there?
I'll take the thumbs up one step further. The Silas thumbs, it's either a thumbs up or a thumbs down. One of them, Violet, uses it, and it's the most tilting
I think
thing.
it is the thumbs down.
Like, you mess up a solo kill and you just get up. You're like, nah, man, like, there's no point.
And then you're just like
done that in
rage.
our AOS.
You're anger gaming.
Yeah.
You're anger gaming then. We got one more to see, another submission. Someone said, rock on, dude. So again, just the plain hand. But we're
Did
doing
not
these
know
ones.
that existed.
That's kinda
Straight
cool.
up did not know that existed.
I know all the glove ones and all the B ones. That's it.
Yeah.
You have the glove ones?
I've just seen them.
Oh.
A lot of people spam.
Yeah, I didn't even know.
There you go.
Revolutionary.
Default Andy.
Mm.
It's hard to
Yep.
replace the bees though with anything else, is it?
These are best.
Yeah,
Mm.
they are bees. as you say.
As I would say.
If
As
you
I
guys
did say.
do have a
When you said
favorite
that.
emote,
As you did say.
and you don't want to submit it, you don't want to tweet at us with it, then maybe you can show us in game. You can show us this Friday, June 30th. You can spam all the emotes you want in these community game nights. ! Discord in chat. It'll give you all the information on how to sign up, what's going to happen, and I've already said it a million times, but I'm going to be there. I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, but it is just a fact. Rusty's going to be there, and Skimmy's going to be there too.
I think we've actually upped the ante. So last time I've been a grand announcement as to that we're going to be playing on PTR in this new 2v2 mode.
Yeah.
Now I've actually announced that Nat will be making a special appearance on one of her champions that will not be played in Bingo. So that's going to be even more exciting. So
I will do that. I will do that.
we'll see you on Viego. We'll see you on what
Well,
else?
this is great. If none of my champs get picked, then I have a pool of 5.
There you go. Easy peasy.
So really, it's a win-win for me. Maybe. There is going to be another one for you guys in chat, though, as we have game number 2 coming up. Ground Zero up against Vertex, so don't go too far.
40%.
Keep his verdict.
Poppy can knock you back and can flash into this pit if he so does desire. Has gone in early. There is the Void Missile, there is the damage, there is the strike. Headbutt pole into the backline.
He's dead.
Shutdown found. Shaco gone. Baron still engaged down at 2,500. Dante untouched with the Rage Blade ramping.
Dante!
DPS team getting it absolutely done as he flashes in to find his second. He gets a third, he gets a quadra. He gets a quadra.
Oh God, I'll be flexing. Oh God, I'll be flexing. Oh God, when it talks right, can't stop talking. You might say I'm fat, but I say I'm poking. Shot in the leg, they ain't talking. But free me, stop talking. Like I'm outside, but I got work. Think I'm out of place like a damn mouse sport. Look up with the list, no. Flex, I'm running like house. Oh God, I'll be flexing. I'll be flexing. Oh God, I'll be flexing. Oh God, I'll be flexing. I'll be flexing. I'll be flexing. Oh God, flexing. Oh God, I'll be flexing. I'll be flexing. Oh God, flexing. Oh God, I'll be flexing. Oh God, I'll be flexing. I'll be flexing. I came out on smoke, yeah, out the gate on the go. Take notice, take notes. I get all the first place votes. Yep, came through, they won't let us in. Didn't like their old medicine. Told me to be ready for anything. You see, I'm ready for anything. All praise to the most hated. Never flinch, never back down. Always been the most gracious. Always stood, never sat down. Whole city got my back now. Shadows in the background.
He hooks himself back in. They want it. Kingsley's not able. It's a pentakill. Second, they'll find a second. Chippies is on an absolute tear right now.
Vertex took game number 1 against Ground Zero, but we're going to have a side swap. So we're going to see Vertex on blue side. Could this be the strength? Another dominant victory for them, Rusty.
I mean, yeah, it's funny looking back at it, right? We haven't decided what the best pick is just yet for a first pick. You were mentioning that earlier. Max, the Rel gets picked. The Alistar's responded. I still don't think Rel's the best blind pick champion because champions like Alistar exist. So I don't think that's something the Vertex will do. I am expecting the blue side still stays stronger overall, especially because you get those targeted bans. So if Vertex won on red side, Matt, I think they have an even better chance in game number 2.
That is very true, because the stats of the first, 13.10, 13.11, how they've all added together to be blue side strong, maybe it's going to continue on. Who really knows? If you guys have faith in the blue side and maybe that Ground Zero are able to come back on the red side, then you could put your vote. You can use your channel points up there. Have your say, have your prediction. We want to know what you guys think about this matchup in chat.
Thanks,
Please.
Beyonce.
Don't hesitate. You want to do it? You want to do it again?
No, because my mom was just like, so I was just like, come on.
There's a lot of flair in that.
Red side, blue side, Vertex, Ground Zero.
That's it. You know, you just come on, mate. That's it.
Gonna add a bit of flair, a bit of pizzazz.
I did I not?
No, you really did. Before we head into Jams like Ben,
Just make a whole bit out of that.
what this?
Just the whole like, we're just so invested in saying, up there, click, click. Don't look
Wrong
at
way,
click,
wrong way.
click.
Yeah.
Click there. Don't look at click.
Okay, well I click on the start game button and oh my goodness, it started.
It worked.
Wow. Wow. Production start the game. We started the game. Here you go. Well, Vertex, would you believe it, are 1-0 in the series and potentially, very potentially here, Max, staring down the barrel of their first full series win.
Yeah, I mean, certainly would be great to get those 3 points coming in from the bottom. You're essentially quadrupling your current score, going from 1 to 4 points there. Now, the question for me, Vertex, banning out this Ari, banning out this LeBlanc first two, do you opt for a first pick Syndra? Because last game, it looked really good. The any response from Emphas didn't really find much fruition, much value. Seemed like Chirp was able to keep him at arm's length. So with the variability in first picks available, you really never know.
Does Nico still get banned?
Good question.
If it doesn't, this will be the first time it's been let through in a very long while. Big question now for Ground Zero as to what really is the strongest and scariest pick that Vertex could lock in. And quite honestly, I'm expecting Ground Zero to try and save their 5th and final pick for Tron to try and get that response, to try and beat Tomasino, try and assert dominance that, hey, phenomenal game on the Renekton, but it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be the most first pick champion on this patch currently, which is the Maokai. Probably the most boring champion to play, probably the most boring champion to watch in a jungle role, but it gets it done. It provides that CC, and you know, for a player like Forever, Vertex look really good when he's on a facilitative role. He's able to allow space for his carries, and that's going to be picked up. You're anticipating a Jace to be paired alongside it, potentially from Chirp. That has been the standard go-to pairing, but there's so many more champions available for Chirp.
And to further that point even more, Max, I love it. The fact that, you know, you ban away the Ahri, the Rakan, and the Maokai has been denied, and those are the 3 components of what made Ground Zero look so formidable in their victory when they took down Pentanet. So you're basically disassembling the, sort of the star power of them.
No.
Ground Zero going to go for the Kaiser. As Aiko is going to show that, hey, Dante, you said you're fun of it. It's my time to shine now. What do they lock in the jungle? They've gone for a Kindred.
Interesting. It's very interesting they pick up the Kindred this early, Skimmy. Taking it at the 2 when you have a lot of mid lane picks open, you have a lot of potential support picks open, saying, okay, we're going to opt for a counter matchup in one of those lanes. But Kindred into Maokai, able to outpace him quite significantly in the jungle, and as well has a sustained DPS to be able to take him down if he is going for a tankier build. You combo that with the effect that the Lamb's Respite is able to come through for a massive engage. It's quite a hard counter matchup for Maokai to play into.
Yeah, not the funnest interaction, that's for sure. Not going to be wanting to entertain too many 1v1s or counter jungling. The Varus is going to come out as a response to this Kaiser. We've only seen it being played in the mid lane by one player, but we've certainly come to expect it in the bot lane as well now. We've seen many variations of its build as a whole. Jace also comes out as a response too. It almost feels to me as if Vertex want to try and say, we'll just outrange you with poke.
Huge poke, and then now the onus is put onto Ground Zero to draft some engage, right? Because if you're playing into this poke composition, you've got a Kai'Sa, incredibly short-range champion, same with Kindred, until she gets those marks coming online. So you're staring down a Varus, you're staring down Maokai saplings, and that Jace empowered Shock Blast coming through. You need to have some sort of engage. The Lissandra comes out. Kindred Lissandra, a very potent mid-jungle combo, particularly in solo queue, due to the CC the Lissandra provides, layered with the profound damage of the Kindred.
The caveat to this, though, is once again, it's another very short-range champion, so it really stresses the importance on Ground Zero finding flanks through fantastic vision control.
Yeah, to me here, your 4-5 for Ground Zero has to be like an Ornn plus a Rel, Alistar, something like that. You need that reliable engage, because like you mentioned, Lissandra, if she doesn't get on top of Jace, Varus, she is just going to be whittled down to very low health before the fight even starts. So a lot of potential to get going in the early game that didn't come through for Ground Zero last game. We'll see if they can do anything different here on the red side.
Well, the Olaf respect has been once again paid as they ban away to Silas, they ban away to Syndra, indications that they are potentially thinking towards their Alistar or a Rel of the likes, some way to give them that reliable engage from the side of Ground Zero. Malphite as well, once again playing towards the point. How do you get to this backline? If you're going to get outranged, you need some hard and fast way to say, smack the backline, win it before they can outpoke us.
Absolutely. The question is, do they pick sup or top here on this 4P here? We know that Tomasino very confident last game, at least on the Renekton, seemed to have his performance of the split in that semi-carry, more bruiser type matchup. It is going to be the Nautilus instead, so always going to have that opportunity to place the depth charge on Dante, a mechanic that you cannot stuff up if you tried. So a lot more engaged, a lot of volatility around this bot lane, you know, first Dragon Spawns, first Scuttle. There's a lot of CC that can be piled on top of each other to stack the Plasma and to get Ground Zero early kills.
Absolutely, a very explosive laning phase can certainly be found if they were to receive a little bit of a jungle attention at the same time as well. And now for Vertex, it almost says, we've got the poke, we understand what your game plan is to try and shut us down, so let's now pile on the defensive side of things, right? You've also got the ability for the Nature's Grasp from Maokai to be used offensively or defensively. Same could be said for the Tahm Kench. You can definitely use the Devour to deny that potential one-shot.
Yeah, really nice pickup here from Rosie, obviously having experience with that champion in the past. But to me, Tahm into Nautilus is such a nullifying pick. And to me, if this gets locked in, it's going to be a Jace top blind, Skimmy. This is a very volatile pick. You have to wonder what Tron's going to go for here.
This will be the first time we've seen Jace in the top lane, right? It has been played, well, mid lane exclusively, this split anyway. In a very long time since we've seen that. And I said at the top of the draft, I was thinking on red side, surely you're saving that fifth pick for him. But you need a tank.
Look at Tomasino.
Yeah, his reaction and the shake of the head. And the Pantheon comes out at the very last moment. It was banned away in the first game. Is this the wild card to bring Ground Zero to a tie?
Okay, Ground Zero have gone with, if we don't get explosive, if we don't get stuff done in the first 10-15 minutes, it's going to be an incredibly hard game, right? Pantheon has so much damage in these early game skirmishes. Basically, anywhere you go on Ground Zero, you know, pre-level 6, there's going to be so much explosive damage that they are going to be able to find kills. That being said, if we're looking this game through the lens of 35-40 minutes, you've got this Varus with this Tahm Kench, so much safety, so much late game DPS.
Yeah.
That Vertex, if they can withstand that early game pressure, they're going to be in a really good spot.
They certainly are, and it's a case of, will it go to distance like it did game 1 where it went to, what, nearly 40 minutes in? Or is Ground Zero going to have enough pressure, enough control, enough ability to try and out-macro you with this Pantheon from that global perspective to not really allow Vertex poke to come online? I mean, it's a massive question mark. We've just not seen Pantheon in such a long time, and it was obviously very well piloted by BioPanther, but bit of a different ask now from Tron in a very high-stakes situation.
And I'm really excited about this top lane matchup. Jace into Pantheon is such a mechanical matchup. If you misstep as the Jace, you're going to lose 50% of your HP, guaranteed. Set you up for a dive, set you up for a kill later on. But on the other hand, if you manage to space effectively, Pantheon can't really get on top of you, right? You can buffer the stun with your hammer, knock him back so he's not able to get on top of you effectively. To me, this is a real question of Tomasino coming in. Rookie talent, yes, he had a good game, but Jace is a whole different kettle of fish compared to a Renekton.
As a top laner yourself, how would you rate the chances then? Is it very favoured towards either side, or is it incredibly skill-based?
It's incredibly skill-based. That being said, if I had to give my honest prediction, I think Tron might run away with this one. I haven't seen enough from Tomasino to say I am a proficient Jace player, and Jace is one of those champions where it's not okay to be average on the champion. You have to be incredibly good. You have to have, you know, 100+ games put in solo queue. And obviously, this is a big statement from Tomasino to say, I'm confident in this skill matchup. I'm confident in saying that if I lose, I'm going to lose hard. But if I win, I'm going to stomp you.
I popped off in game 1, and I'll be looking to really replicate that again in game number 2. Let's load into the Rift then. For just that, Vertex leading this best of 2 with a game 1 victory that really got us dancing around in the studios. We were certainly hyped up for that one. And in game 2, Ground Zero certainly made the composition a little bit more standard, but still a degree of spice.
A little bit of degree of spice all across the board here. Speaking about Jace, I will say, I don't like the runes, Skimmy. I do not like Phase Rush on Jace in this matchup. Conqueror, much more able to be stacked up in these persistent fights against the Pantheon. You know you're going to be trading very often. The Phase Rush not really giving you that much value. Once Pantheon gets on top of you, you knock him away. That's the trade basically done. So to me, Tomasino opting for a bit of a safer route, opting for a bit more protection, saying, okay, as long as I don't die, that's the win condition.
Yeah, no first strike to be seen either. A potential option that we not really seen for a fair bit in the top lane. It was all about the mobility, and will that be afforded to him? We'll have to see how this jungle matchup in particular plays as well, because I think Forever had a phenomenal game 1 as well on the Poppy. Slammed it early and said that I will be the priority for this team. Slams it in with a Maokai first again this game. See what it can do to try and shut down this Kindred before the marks are acquired, and that becomes a major DPS threat.
And here's what's interesting to me, Skimmy, is Tomasino isn't even making an attempt on the wave here. Doesn't want to push whatsoever. because he knows Gooby starting towards his red side could look at him as a potential gank target. And if you lose your flashes, Jace, early on, it's incredibly hard to recover.
They already know that he's on his way. Sapling is going to reveal Gooby in the area right now as Forever's forced to actually retreat from the Wolf camp. That means that Gromp is going to get started nice and early, and Tomasino is locked underneath his turret right now, so I don't know if he really wants to even come over to actually give his jungler any help.
But again, this is Ground Zero having a very thorough understanding of what they need to do in the games, right? You see that ward next to the Herald Pit. That spots Kindred when she jumps over, heads for that invade. Forever temporarily gets forced out, but he's able to come back and still get his Wolf camp. And Tomasino, meanwhile, that defensive wave strategy turning out for the better, right? He loses no HP. He's not a dive threat whatsoever. So really nice response from Vertex.
Pre-planned from either side, and certainly no one walking away worse for wear than they would have been otherwise. But it is going to be a matchup here that we are currently paying a fair degree of attention towards, just to see how explosive it would be and how enraged, I suppose, Tron would be based on how game one played out for him. He's going to try and take those opportunities to jump in and just deliver so much damage that Tomasino cannot respond with.
And that's what I mean, right? You misstep once, you're getting a W on. It's an empowered W. Procs press the attack, and he's able to do so much damage. There's Ignite as well, Skimmy. So to add to the matters of potentially getting one shot, that creates so much more tension in that lane. It's going to force Tomasino back to base, going to force the TP out very early. As we see, once again, an invade on towards his blue side. Chirp has prior, though.
He does right now. Wavestay is currently sat in the middle, but it's not going to deter Vertex as 3 members strong, going for the Scuttle Crab down south. Does allow them just to waddle their way down back into lane. Forever decides to entertain the thought of saying hello to Gooby once again. But that was the risk you said, that in terms of a 1v1 between junglers, that's Gooby's paradise.
It is here. The smite going to come through, so Forever not going to be able to pick that one up. But again, it's the priority difference, right? You see this early on lethality, Varus very strong. Once he's hitting those minions, once he's got that passive to be able to continue to push, and even Tomasino coming down to track Gooby. So Vertex across the board, it seemed like they've been able to track Gooby incredibly well. He has no idea Jace is here, Skimmy.
This is such a risky recall. He's cancelled it, but he's holding strong for the meantime, not giving away his position. Surely they know something's a little bit awry right now. Emfish jumps in for the root. Tomasino's there. Why is he there? That is the question mark they're asking. He gets first blood of all things. And Gooby's just being mind controlled. Emfish had the right idea, but the jungler falls victim.
Read like a book, plain and simple. I don't think there's been a single minute in this game where Ground Zero haven't had their location known as. Meanwhile, trading bot lane.
Pistol dive goes out, but Dante gets turned upon. The flash over to deny the piercing arrow. And Nako's burn everything. Will he fall victim though to the chomp? But no, Bulldog's there to body block, to burn the dive. It's not going to happen. And it's another game of Kaiser, and a Kaiser popping with a double.
We've seen Kaiser's getting ahead early, Skimmy. We've seen what they can do, and this time Aiko going to be the one to brandish that 2-0 kill score this early on. It starts off with the Abyssal Dive from Rosie, thinking he can get traded on, but it's this Kaiser Nautilus combo so early on. The Plasma being stacked. Tomasino, he's got no TP here, Skimmy.
Got to be careful here as well. A massive wave stacked up that he's going to try and trim as much as he can. Knock back onto Tron, who's only managed to find one plate to himself. A catastrophic start to the bot lane.
I'm surprised Tron doesn't go for a little bit more there. You know, the bone plating was down as well. Potentially could have dove. As we take a look at this bot lane play once again, the Abyssal Dive comes through. It's good. It finds Aiko, but the hook onto Bulldog. He's tanking minions as well. And Aiko flashes forward, gets that DPS. And once Dante goes down, Rosie is a very sad Bullfrog, not able to do anything but watch as he gets taken down for the double.
And I think crucially for me is the fact that he's body blocked, so Aiko never gets stunned by the tongue lash of that Time Kench, right? It's been positioned beautifully with the pre-cleanse with the body block after. The fact that they were able to make sure that they would come ahead in this play. It was a very even Dare fan vote. I think it was like a 50-40 split in game one. This time now, everybody riding the Vertex bandwagon.
This is looking incredibly awkward for me after I said Rusty gave up and then Vertex actually do manage to 2-0. I might have to apologize for that one later on, but certainly by no means is this game in the hands of Vertex. In fact, they find themselves at about a 200 gold deficit.
Oh, he's in trouble. It's the flat. Oh my god, it was so close.
Wait.
20 HP. 20 HP separating Tron between becoming a hero or ending up the villain. He's jumping into the sky and he's gone. I do not believe it. You don't need TP when you can make magic.
That was literally his last single shrapnel of mana that he had left. As meanwhile, the fighting's not done.
Bulldog going to start things up there with the dredge line. Gooby wrapping around, but they're very healthy, so I'm not sure if there's ever really a fight going on right now. Dante there, locked in place, flash to pass with the root, but he's forced to disengage away from. I tell you what, Ground Zero have just become a new kill of the fish.
Yeah, nice flash from Dante, but ultimately it means he will have to use both sums. We'll have to go back to base. And look what Ground Zero get off the back end of it. It's a plate, it's a wave crash, and looking towards this dragon as well. So using this card as a Nautilus to really put pressure on this immobile Varus before Tahm Kench has access to that Devour.
What does Forever have as a response? Well, it's a denial of the enemy red buff. And that's as much as he can find right now. Nothing else really available for him to take or deny on the map. 30 seconds, and there would be the Rift Herald, but both objectives yet to be looked at. No minions, or rather walls in the area to protect them.
And look at this top wave Skimmy. Tomasino wanting to thin it out a bit more so it's not pushing into him for a potential dive. Herald, the next objective, spawning in 5 seconds now. When you look at something like this Kindred Lissandra, pair that with a Pantheon, you have enough single target damage to blow up anyone literally instantly, right? So if they're able to find the correct position, if they're able to find this Rift Herald start, which Gooby is going for now, is Tomasino taking a lot of damage.
I mean, he is, and look, he tries to go past the shield, but still is going to cop a massive beating as a result of that one. You can see the idea why Tron gets aggressive, denied the fact that Tomasino could rotate towards this Rift Herald play. That's down to 40% right now, but Vertex are in the area. Out go the roots, and back goes Gooby, forced to flash across the wall. Is it as simple now as pressing your smite button and denying it? It really is.
And it's Dante coming up who brings the numbers in the favor of Vertex. Yes, they're getting pushed in top lane. Yes, Pantheon has a health advantage, but you've got a whole nother body in the area showing on mid-wave. You cannot contest that Herald. Crucially, Gooby as well, not having level 6. So if he stays in that pit as Tomasino.
Look at that, beautifully timed there with the cancel of the recall. I thought Forever may have just baited his top lane into his own demise. Twisted advance to start things off. Tomasino's got to play this one beautifully. He's been sniped! Tron had no right getting that kill, quite honestly. He had no summoners. He had no way out. But he gets the piercing spear, and he takes Tomasino to the grave with him.
And the question is why? Skimmy, the question is why you are playing in that Pantheon Q range. Maybe he wanted to get an empowered shock blast, but plain and simple, that is a kill into the hands of Tron that he shouldn't have gotten. Forever was there, able to clean up with no grand entrance. Not grand entrance, grand skyfall rather. I've seen too much for Khan recently. But it's going to be a kill onto Tron, and one that he desperately needed, Skimmy. He's only 56 CS, playing that Ignite Pantheon. It's a high-risk, high-reward playstyle.
It really is. And it's exciting, and it's aggressive as you really need to see them find this early game work in their favor. You mentioned it very early on into the drafting phase that if this game were to go to distance like it did in game 1, they're in trouble. Not going to be enough to try and match the power of a late-game Varus Victor. Have to wait and see if that is to be the case here, as we're obviously very excited about the fact that Dante, or rather Eiko, is ahead. 2-0 right now, has picked himself up that static shift. They're going to be feeling even stronger now as a result, and is in a league of his own as you look at the total gold. Nobody really coming close to him so far. But Chirp has been farming away pretty contently. Second most farm in the game.
Yeah, definitely not doing too badly for himself in this matchup. Obviously, 1v1, you're feeling quite alright as the victor, as this dragon is going to go down into the size of Ground Zero, you'd have to imagine. That was a lot closer than I thought that was going to be completely honest with you. But like you mentioned, Skimmy, Eiko definitely having attended Skimology 101 with that static shift pickup, able to get a lot of pressure into this lane. And it will be the lethality Varus, may I mention, so not offering quite as much late game DPS,
Sure.
But when you've got a Victor, when you've got a Jace, that's not really your concern.
Not to be the on-hit Rage Blade this time around. Nope, they just want that cheap item spike, that mid-game power to carry them over, to complement that, and the Jace, right? Both looking to try and itemize the same direction. Like they call those, Skimology. That's a new one.
We'll have that as a new name for our segment once we get around to it. But across the board, top lane continues to be a point of focus for Forever in particular. Tron hasn't really received much attention at all from Gooby in this lane, saying, hey, you're fine to play this 1v1, you're fine to win. But really, the fact that Forever's here consistently means that Tron can't do what he wants to do and get all up in your face against that Jace. And right as I say that, Skimmy, I feel like I'm just cursing the game. Here's Gooby in top lane.
It's the caster curse that happens all the time. And as soon as one jungler departs, the second arrives in the station, ready to make their presence known. Now, what is the play here? Because Forever has paths and returned back to the top side.
Yeah, what are we cooking?
The long con of waiting for this minion to fall on down to deny vision to potentially go into that second bush, but nothing's going to happen.
I'm not really sure what Gibby was thinking there. Potentially, you know, avoiding a gank, maybe making it a two-man, but even then, you don't stay for the full wave push, so you're sort of just spectating as Tron takes his minions. Going to be freeing him up potentially to look for an ultimate in another lane here. Wanting to get this Lissandra off to a start of some kind, who's really not been able to find that much value at this stage in the game.
River just going to poke his head into mid lane then and instantly summon that Herald. Assist is fed Victor, who is definitely utilizing that ranged advantage into the matchup of that Lissandra. So you've got one player already, here have some more. You get even stronger. A very even game right now at the 13-minute mark. Dead even is the gold, but that hook goes out. The depth charge is there. Channel Corruption is cleansed out of. And Eiko says, there's my third of the game. Catch me if you can. He's evaded one ultimate, but he's getting run down by a chase, and it's going to take a while.
Yeah, it's going to be a long chase, Gimme. I don't even know if they get him in the end. It's going to be Bulldog that they're heading towards.
He's buffed with that hook beautifully, but it's just not enough distance covered. The Ignite connects. It's Chirp to get the kill, and it's Eiko that's surely now just denying himself the turret.
And a solo kill in mid lane traded for the kill onto Gooby whilst that play is going on. So action all across the board here. It starts off with Dante getting a little bit too overconfident there. CCTV coming through, not respecting that Nautilus hook range that's going to come out and be able to take him down. Meanwhile, Tron feeling quite happy about himself, getting these plates up in the top lane. But here we go. This is what starts it all. So Vertex wanting to collapse initially, but not respecting the hook means that Dante goes down straight away. And Skimmy, at this point here, they're split between who they want to chase. Not sure if they want to go on Bulldog. He's out. He doesn't have to turn back around. He gets eaten from about 1 billion range away. That really is a menu log delivery from that time catch.
And then we see here, Emphis hard forced to play in the mid lane. Frozen Tomb goes down, but just falls victim to La laser, doesn't he? Worst case scenario. Eiko actually places as best you can, right? Static Shiv. I'll get a cheeky wave and then I'll die and you get nothing for it.
That's a good death.
It is.
That speaks to Static Shiv. Retains the bounty, though, so that's still going to be on his head for the next time he falls to an enemy champion. But now as we take a look across the board, Mythic starting to come online. The Yomu's Ghostblade for Tron, so really wanting to play that roam-heavy playstyle, going from one lane to the other with that ultimate, finding kills across the board as Gooby's found Forever.
Yeah, and Bulldog's there to connect as well. Forever is the one in trouble right now, forced to flash across the wall. Grand Skyfall comes on down. Rosie is the target, piercing arrow, charged up and ready to go, but the blast cone griefs them, so they're forced to flash across, make it 2. Can they catch them? They certainly can't. So the second thing on the menu is going to be deny that blue buff. And Chirp now realizes, I'm in a spot above a hit. May as well TP back to mid.
That one hurts if you're Tron. What doesn't hurt, though, is Dante going down in the mid lane in that 1v1 versus Eiko, who realistically is just getting the better of this 80 carry matchup. The Varus sitting on the Duskblade compared to what is a Static Shiv and almost a completed Nash's Tooth as well. So Eiko, it almost seems like Kai'Sa is the pick of this series. As we take a look once again, the hook comes through onto Forever. It's an incredibly tanky Maokai, though, not really in any danger of going down. Flashes out, and you think they're going to be able to get to Rosie, but it's the root that buys enough time for Rosie to get to that blast cone and get out safely. Meanwhile, on the bot side of your screen, Dante is being shown that Static Shiv really needs to be removed.
That was a little bit cute there from Eiko, though, right? Dante's going to try and do his one bit of contribution with the lethality max charge piercing arrow. Not enough. And Eiko doesn't mess around. Tags him up, jumps in, and deletes him under the sanctuary of his own mid-tier 1. Vertex now looking for the second dragon of the game. The first went to Grand Zero. Would they look to try and steal this one away? It's not to be the case. Emphis still not in the fight right now. Frozen Claw across the wall. Frozen Tomb connecting. They're going to find what they need. Can they get any more kills, though, is the question. Because it's only Tron that's done the damage. They're the ones losing the fight. They try to start the fight up to try and re-engage upon the play. And it's Eiko forced to run away to protect that bounty.
And Vertex capitalizing. Sure, they just lost the fight, but they say, hey, we can completely turn this around, and the turn it around they do. Like you mentioned, Emphis not in position. And when you're having a front-to-back, Chirp quietly achieving here, pumping out so much damage, along with Tomasino, that they're able to find 4 kills and the dragon.
Started off with this replay once again. I mean, grouped up is 5 is Vertex, and Ground Zero coming from every single angle, looking to try and find their moment.
But look at this, who is putting pressure on the carries here? No one. It's a depth charge, but Emphis takes the frozen path into the pit, so he's not in a position to find anyone. There's no ultimate able to come through from the Kindred there, and then Aiko's just left to look and run.
Disjointed. Really wasn't the fight they were looking to try and really find and flourish on.
No flash.
And I think now Tomasino is feeling like a little bit more rejuvenated now. Tron, you had your way in the laning phase, but I am strong now. I am 4-1. Second item complete. There is the Man Immune, and potentially now Bulldog, who just narrowly evades that Nature's Grasp.
And suddenly this game's flipped on its head.
It is.
It was Ground Zero who were getting the better of them, able to roam the map with his Pantheon priority. Now it's the Jace getting the bush camp, and Tomasino, from a player who really was one of the weaker points for Vertex, is certainly stepping up in this must-win series.
It certainly is. I mean, this is really a series of your life right now, but can they answer back? They've still got the fed Eiko, they've still got the fed Kaiser, they've still got the ability to try and take down targets. The Lamb's Respite is still there, and it means that Gooby gets himself a double kill. He is playing with aggression, with certainty, because he's got nothing to lose. He pops the ultimate, he stands inside it, and he looks to hunt down his marked target, but Chirp says, you won't get me, I'll take you instead. In goes Pantheon, Tron looking for an instant cleanse out by Dante. In with the flash, the root, the claw of defeat, and a double for the Pantheon. Tron needed that so badly, and the game goes back to even.
Yeah, it does. Only 300 gold separating the two teams after that fight. And once again, this is a seemingly random fight in the mid lane, not over anything besides these two teams staring at each other. As we see once again, it starts off with Bulldog baiting. He's very low, but it's Gooby and Emphas, this Kindred Lissandra duo, able to find the damage onto Rosie and take him down quickly. This time, Emphas is able to buy relevant space with that ultimate, so they're able to take down the Maokai as well. And here goes Gooby. Yes, he goes down in the end, but it's Tron, who hasn't been on your screen this entire time, who comes through to clean this play up.
And he certainly does. You're thinking, okay, Vertex have done enough, but they say the fight's not over. Ground Zero want to continue. They want more. It's exactly what they do. They commit summoners for it, and they're rewarded as such. They need to be aggressive at this point of the game. They're concerned about the scaling Victor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even in these fights, you can see how much damage Chirp is able to put out, building his way towards a Rabadon's death cap as well. And it is going to be those cohesive engages, those finding those one kills, able to get those frozen thralls coming out from Lissandra, buying a bit of space in these fights, that will be able to get Ground Zero going. But that being said, Skimmy, Baron spawning in 30 seconds, the control you need to have against a team that has a Jace, that has a Maokai, that has a lethality Varus is profound.
What it is now, because both the Jace and the Varus are matched in terms of their relevant strength, they are incredibly proficient at this point of the game. 20 minutes in, this is how they can bridge that gap towards the later stages, and you're really wondering, okay, what do Ground Zero have? Well, they still have the most fed member in the game, which is Eiko's Kaiser, 4-1-4.
Tomasino.
And they're going to look to really utilize some of that strength in the bot lane right now, as a bounty is going to go awry, the only bounty that Vertex had, and it's been granted to Gooby, his full for the game, and an ultimate to save the day.
Lamb's Respite coming in clutch to save Bulldog, but it's a bit of disrespect from Tomasino there, perhaps having flashbacks from that Renekton game where he's 5,000 HP, unable to be killed. Jace, not a similar story whatsoever. And Skimmy, that's a big kill going over. He's got a bounty. Not only that, but he puts so much pressure in this side lane when he's alive. Realistically, the Lissandra can only really clear waves in his face, not ever able to kill him in a 1v1 situation. So him going down frees up so much space for them to move, for them to get vision towards his objective spawning in 15 seconds.
And it's like so hard for Vertex to try and find that control in the mid lane right now, with Eiko planted there with the static shift just instantly destroying the wave. They can't force their hand to make a trade or anything happen. Hook goes out, does not connect, but Dante lands his ultimate and gives his old teammates something to look about.
Cool. Well, that's Varus ulti. That's Varus ulti gone. It was actually quite clever there from Bulldog, baiting like he's going to flash the wall away and then actually fishing for a hook. Could have been a Tam Kench ultimate burnt there, but it's going to be the Varus ult coming out, and that's pretty big here. It is quite a large tool for these team fights that isn't going to be available here. And once again, it's this standoff. Pantheon off to the side, threatening constantly a flank with that ultimate.
Not the longest cooldown, though, on that Chain of Corruption. It could be up and available by the time this posturing comes to an end. Everybody's here in the area right now, and it's Ground Zero positioning themselves in a way that they can flank and beat the poke, get the jump, and win out on the fight. Third Dragon, one apiece so far. It's Ground Zero to start things up.
Look at Emphas here, though. He's in the bush, Skimmy. They've just spotted him here, but he's got a good angle onto the carries if they were to push in.
Darn taking a little bit of pressure onto Gooby. In we go for Emphis. He's on his own right now. Ground Zero had to make a move. Echo's already hit that killer instinct. DK for missiles are just not enough. The grey health, the thick skin of the time Kench is enough to survive.
No.
Bulldog goes there one more time. What was he thinking? Ground Zero are running away. And Vertex can't believe their luck. The piercing arrow, flash, blast cone, run for the hills. Shock blast is not accelerated. And the laser beam is not long enough.
He's got EQ, Skimmy, he's got EQ.
Oh, he tried. He tried so hard. Run, Forrest, run. But unfortunately for him, Vertex are just too good.
But what is Emphis doing there? He goes in a mile ahead of anyone else on his team, forces a really suboptimal Kai'Sa ultimate to come through, and then Bulldog hits a hook. He doesn't want a hook, ends up going in and dying, and Skimmy, that's a fight you need to win if you're Ground Zero. You can't keep letting these get out of control against the scaling comp.
Such a decisive moment in this game. They had the
Like
Dragon
this?
started up, and we're just going in. You got 4 members on the Dragon, Emphis on a completely different page.
Everyone's rooted, everyone's hitting Dragon, there's no one with you here. Sure, they get 1 kill off the back end of it, but it's this hook again. Bulldog, you don't want to hit that, buddy. You're 300 HP. And then off the back end of it, you've got Varus Qs raining down. You've got these Jace-empowered Shock Blasts, which take down Echo at the end of it. And Vertex just being gifted a team fight.
They are. Blue Trinket goes down, and you've got nowhere to sidestep at that point. You literally have nowhere to juke to anymore. We're straight back into the action. Out of a replay with some fights. Back into mid lane WrestleMania, where we decide, do we decide to go for another hook again? Are we fighting again? Because that Jace poke is relentless.
But this is what I was talking about, Skimmy. You've got a Victor, you've got a Jace. How does anyone actually walk in? Not to mention the Lethality Varus and Maokai saplings. You don't have any true tanks on your team, right? You've got a Pantheon who can maybe throw up an E, a Nautilus who's got even Shroud Merc Treads, not tanky whatsoever. So it's going to be another situation where you're going to have to send bodies in, and that opens up so much room for Vertex to find these picks.
Which, to their credit, they've been doing wonderfully well. Might become even easier as a result of Tomasino now just picking up the Cyrilda's Grudge. Those combinations now going to slow their targets even further, shred through any kind of armor that may be acquired. And there's not really much of it, quite honestly. Merc treads across the board from everybody. So concerned about the levels of CC that Vertex have, but they really are just going to get shredded like butter.
Seeing Chirp on that bot wave is going to be the go button for Ground Zero to walk in to be able to get some sort of vision. Starting Baron, never really an option for them unless they want to take 1 million damage in poke. And as I say that, all right, go ahead, Ground Zero.
Oh no, this is so risky. It's on vision, it's in sight, and it's into a comp where you don't want them attacking you. Look at the level of blue trinkets that are being popped right now. They know exactly where you are. And they are forcing you to try and become isolated from the herd.
Yeah, and can I just say, that is never a comp you can start Baron against when they're 5 members full HP as well, right? The only universe in which you ever do that is to try to bait a pick, right? You have Emphis sitting over the wall, but they didn't even have anyone in the flank. They were all just sitting there in the pit, so Vertex are more than happy to come in and chase you away from that objective. They knew you were never really serious about it, but now this is getting increasingly more dire for Ground Zero, as this could be a Baron start for Vertex.
This would seem more favorable if it is Ground Zero, the ones that are trying to make a retake on the Baron. 8,000 HP on it so far. Members converging from all different lanes to come towards this one. And Bulldog's already down to 50%. So he says, I have to go in. Chucks the hook out, does the depth charge, makes it a 1-for-1 trade. Emphis in the backline, he's hit the Frozen Tome. He's gone golden for the meantime, but he's instantly going to get taken out as well. Chirp has now got 5 kills to his name. A Victor so strong so early on, continues to accelerate that narrative. And whilst the goal lead is even, it feels more and more Vertex favored.
It absolutely does, and we saw Lissandra getting a bit better of a flank there, able to find multiple members, able to pop that ultimate and buy a significant amount of space. But plain and simple, Skimmy, there's not enough damage. The Lissandra only has this Luden's Echo, not even close to that second item at this point. And Kai'Sa, you know, she can't jump into the backline because she's going to get completely one-shot. It really does feel like, unless there's a Tron ultimate coming over the top of it, unless there's a Nautilus depth charge, as we take a look again, Skimmy, look at Emphis' positioning here. The frozen path, sure it's good, sure he finds a couple members, but just look at the damage coming through from the side of Vertex. The Lamb's Respite, everyone's being caught up by this Maokai ultimate off the back end of this play. They just have nothing left.
And you're seeing consistently it's Gooby standing in the Lamb's Respite, but always copping a Chaos Storm at the same time. So whilst you're burning on down, you're just looking to say, I need to survive this play. And it is also notable that Emphys has just gone back to base and picked himself up a Zonius in 1-4 shop. He had a broken stopwatch and an amplifying tome going into that fight. So that's a massive amount of gold that wasn't utilized before that. Will give them potentially a little bit of extra time. And I think that's really what Eiko needs. He just needs a frontline. He needs bodies for uptime to be fed and try and shut members down.
He does, and that being said, he is the shining light for the side of Ground Zero here. But Vertex, once again saying, hey, we dare you to come into us, we dare you to fight us. This Baron's burning down, Skimmy. It's half HP right now.
It already is, and Ground Zero have decided this is our moment to strike. It's getting so close. The Baron is already gone. It's being picked up here by Vertex. The fight breaks out, and Eiko's already found the victor. Massive shutdown. Keep an eye on Eiko. What can he do? Because he's full HP. Tron and Gooby down to 10%. They get the heal. Emphys goes golden. Thomasino baiting, flashing across the wall. He's got no killer instinct. He's got no flash. He's already used it, so he cannot run him down. And Bulldog says, yes, supports are strong, but maybe not strong enough to finish the job like this. Eiko, does he face check? It's a Baron recall! Oh. So just a little bit too late. And Tron will finish it off in the back line there.
Sure, Vertex get the Baron, but that is an example of how Ground Zero need to take these fights. They found Chirp immediately, blowing him up. It doesn't matter if he's a 3-item victor. It doesn't matter how fed he is. If he's getting hit by a Nautilus hook, by all this Lissandra CC as well, he is going to go down. As Dante here looking...
Oh my gosh. When that popped up and I saw it say Kindred, I'm thinking, hang on a minute. Has he just blindly stolen that one?
That's got to be like 200 damage off.
Too close for comfort.
Yeah, that was very close. But at the end of the day, Skimmy, we'll take a look at this Baron play once again. It starts off with the Baron going down, yes, but look at Bulldog here. The flash W from Tron, plus the hook coming through, able to one-shot Chirp before he's able to do anything. That buys the crucial space like you were talking about for Eiko, and that Lamb's Respite, saving Tron, saving Gooby. Thomasino. There's a world in which, by the way, as he's getting chased by the Kaiser here, the Q pops up, becomes available for Eiko, and he's able to use it, but the reaction's not there quick enough for Eiko. But all said and done, Skimmy, 16-16, 2 dragons apiece. Besides a few remaining Baron buffs, this is an incredibly even game.
This feels like a playoff game, quite honestly. It is so close because they're going to isolate out forever. They're all going to come together and take him down. Once again, the HP bars are cripplingly low. You can see the amount of damage even if they do commit to a fight. Just now got to run away and realize that, yep, they still do have members with Baron available. And we cannot stand to defend this turret. We're too low.
Yeah, Vertex don't care they lose a member, right? It's the HP that matters. It's the cooldowns that are available. Speaking of Gooby,
Emphys is going to go in. He's going to start off with the self-cast for the ultimate. He has the Zonias right afterwards, but gets popped before he can press it. Gooby was trying to wrap around, trying to make a flank of something happen. It's just not possible.
It again feels like this poke is putting too much pressure on the side of Ground Zero. They don't know how to respond. They know we have to engage, but they're not waiting for the right time. Like you mentioned, Skimmy, Gooby was going for a flank. Emphys goes in before that, gets blown up without even being able to do anything about it. And then suddenly you've lost your Lissandra, who's so key to your engage. Vertex, unfazed, continue the push.
Not a care in the world. 15 seconds left on this Baron buff, and whilst it won't be the most impactful one for a monetary gain, it is certainly one which is amplifying their comp twofold. They've marched through the mid lane. They've acquired another turret in the bot lane. That's now, what, 5 turrets to 2. The map gets smaller and smaller now for Ground Zero to try and find those flanking opportunities. And it's Gooby once again lurking in the shadows, waiting to make his move. There is the TP. And that is the flash pound straight into Thomasino's head. He goes golden, does Emphys right there. As the Lamb's Respite comes out nicely, anticipating the amount of burst that Chirp has. Emphys is gone. Dante gets the job done. He gets him in for a second. Double kill here found by Gooby. Level 16 being ticked over now. Can they find even more? Yes, they can. Triple kill for Kindred. Bulldog leading the way. The passive, the Void Missile. They're tagged up, ready to go. Killed before the Abyssal Dive disengage. And what a massive base defense here from Ground Zero.
Gooby and Eiko are not going to give up. They clutch that fight so hard. Emphys once again gets his body in what feels like for the 100th time this game and goes down quickly. But it's the sustained DPS of this Kindred now with a 600 gold bounty. Going to complete the world tour from their inhib to the enemy inhib. They're going to take it down. They're going to crack the base of Vertex.
Incredible turn of events. It's the Baron team that cannot break open the base to take the inhibitor. The flank, which we've been asking for all game long,
yes.
It works.
The flank finally comes out. Emphys commits the flash towards Thomasina, who goes down immediately. Crucially, Chirp very low on mana as this play starts, and it's Emphis once again. 4-man route. Yes, he goes down, but look at Gooby, look at Aiko, not feeling any pressure here from the half HP Dante, who can't walk up, and then Kindred's chasing you down with Flash, with Red Buff, with the Nautilus, not to mention. Dante has to burn both sums just to survive.
And that really was Emphis sacrificing himself for the greater good. He knows he's 0-7, he knows that KDA isn't pretty, he knows he's probably not worth too much gold at this point of the game. All I need to do is create a platform for my team to excel, and you've got the AD carries raining pain from afar in that of a Kindred as well as a Kaiser. Level 16 now, and we're starting to get to dangerous territory. Well, I asked the question to you, we talk about scaling, is it a relevant factor at this point?
I mean, it definitely is, right? You're looking at this Kindred and you're looking at this Kaiser and you're saying, okay, well, the scaling actually isn't so much of a problem anymore, right? The Kindred, you're assuming, has multiple marks at this stage. Kaiser sitting on 4 items with a stopwatch.
9 marks.
9 marks. So got 2 range upgrades there, 1 mark away from that third, which basically becomes an artillery machine at this stage. 30 seconds on Dragon, 40 seconds on Baron, and stopwatches across the board, most notably for Ground Zero.
Someone to check would favour that of Ground Zero right now, who do have their flashes up and available in those positions, be it Tron as well as Aiko. Dante and Chirp have nothing available for them in terms of mobility. They are very susceptible and very much reliant then on Rosie to make a massive play to protect them with a Devour. And a bit of a crossover on these objectives. 2 dragons apiece. Next dragon is about to spawn, but it's a Baron in 10 seconds too. Yeah,
I don't think either team really cares about this dragon. It's a third one and a cloud at that. It is going to be this ARAM for Baron and Skimmy. Talking about ARAMs, when you're a poke composition, this is almost your ideal
Tron's getting whittled down by the Chaos Storm, but Thomasina opens up the account for Vertex, finds him that first kill, allows Chirp to really get the second and remove Emphis from the game. And Tron is forced to flank to the side and do whatever he can. Aiko is going to try and jump the back line, but is protected by that Devour. Aiko against the world, instant cleanse away, finds one, nearly snipes a second on the back end for Dante. Flashes in! He flashed in to try and get it done. I do not believe it. Look how low Dante was.
But again, Skimmy, it's Ground Zero doing the same thing. They're not learning from their mistakes. They're hitting this Baron randomly. No one's threatening a flank, and they're just happy for Vertex to walk in. They're going to get taken down. Yes, Gooby will get the Dragon as a consolation prize, but it's Baron in the back pockets of Vertex. It's Baron in the pockets of this team that is so potent at sieging. As we see this once again, no one's on a flank. No one's threatening any different angle. Vertex able to walk in incredibly easily, and it's this early Lamb's Respite that signals to the rest of Vertex, we can go forwards. They've got no invulnerability left, and go forwards they do. Look at Chirp. Aiko tries to make a savior play off the back end of this, but ultimately ends up going down.
Just too easy for them to make that call, right? As you say, the invulnerability window moves. The fact that they can just see all 5 targets on the map at once, there is no risk of a flank, there is no unpredictability apart from that play there.
Yep.
And quite honestly, that could have been a repeat of what Dante did in Kaiser in his exact position game 1.
That is exactly what I was thinking was going to happen. I thought Dante, you can see him there a sliver away from going down, but it's Baron into the back pockets of Vertex, and when you have this poke composition, sieging becomes so threatening, right? It is going to come down to TPs potentially from Emphis. You see that ward right next to the Raptor camp that he could go for if he wanted to. They're going to have to do something, because if you allow Ground Zero, Vertex rather, to continue to push like this, they're just going to close out the game.
It's going to be a slow bleed out here in which you just do not win. Gooby has now picked up the Guardian Angel as we're getting close to full build and full item, or full max levels I should say rather, at level 18 there for Chirp. Dante actually missing the ultimate to try and catch out this Kindred. 10 marks and a very strong Kindred has to be said. There is a very deep TP to Void Missiles to try and catch them out. Emphis not spotted, biding his time as the rest of Ground Zero have to try and catch up the distance, but now Emphis has to make his presence known. Gooby might be dead before the fight over starts. I mean, the G's already been popped. This is such a disaster. Lamb's Respite goes out. But what is he doing? He jumps out of it to try and find a kill. It's just not going to be that easy.
And Vertex realize, hey, we're getting TP'd on. We can just go forwards. Who cares, right? The Kindred is incredibly low. The Bulldog as well, getting chunked out. And now Skimmy to 4v5. They've got Baron. They're going to push for the end.
They are certainly pushing for the end right now. And another near 40-minute
Fantastic game between two Titans in the bot lane here. Looking to try and make it all happen. In we go once again. Dante's so low. As he comes out of that one, he gets removed by Emphas. He's just got his first kill of the game, and that could be at a really crucial moment. We're looking for more as Thomasina finds himself a second. And Aiko's still healthy with a bodyguard and Bulldog looking to try and protect him and give him the uptime. Missile soaked here by Rosé. In goes Aiko. He's removed Chirp. Is there enough damage for him to survive? There's still Thomasino. He's still so strong. And surely they've still got it in the tank as they will get the ace.
Thomasino making a statement for himself here. 15, 3, and 10 on this Jace. Gooby's respawned, but no Lamb's Respite, Skimmy.
Can he clutch it?
Just coming back up.
Can he clutch it? Oh, he's so low. Does he dare go for another Q forward? He pops the ultimate inside his own fountain. Thomasino's going to try and end the game on his own right now. He's done it. What a game. He cannot believe it in the player cam there. And I tell you what, he is my MVP of the series. He has played out of his heart.
He can't believe it. I can't believe it. The only man who could believe it is Rusty at the start of the day. And Vertex, Resurgence, they haven't looked anywhere near this good for the entirety of the split. But do or die, backs against the wall, they do it. They take a commanding 2-0 win over Ground Zero.
In a must-win series, in a situation where you're potentially thinking, could we squeeze ourselves into that sixth and final spot? And they've said, up against a team with Ground Zero where they are very much the rookies of last split. So we're not going to be deterred by any kind of titles, any kind of pressure. We're going to come in, play our game, and showcase exactly what we were brought in to really do.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I don't even know how to talk about this game because it is every lane kind of doing their own thing. Over the first 15 minutes of this game as well, no one wanting to play together. A lot of 1v2s, just a lot of duos running around together or matching up. So it was a weird start to this game, a lot of back and forth, great defenses, some questionable executions thrown in there as well, Rusty.
I mean, madness. This game became madness so quickly, but it started off again with a lot of emphasis from Vertex. You want to talk about the difference between Vertex in weeks? It feels like it's tracking the enemy jungler and making Forever actually able to play League of Legends. Because the previous 3 weeks, there was just simply... Was that you guys reacting?
To the Scion 5 pick.
Oh, the Scion becoming the Pantheon. Wow, production's got you guys on lock.
I'm waiting for them to have us casting and have like the reactions during that because we're jumping all over the set.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
The thing that I wanted to highlight as well is like Pantheon goes Ignite in this game. They clearly want to kill top. So clearly they're putting extra emphasis towards Kindred pathing to the top side of the map. The way this game starts off, however, is they've spotted it with a ward. A sapling then spots him as well. They know exactly where Gooby was going, and it was also really obvious because of the way that Tron was playing the wave at level 1. So for all intents and purposes, Vertex were very easily able to just deal with that. The issue was then the wave was starting to bounce, and like it just never got played out from Ground Zero that way. But this is one of those big breakpoints, and one of many, I think it's fair to say, in this game, where fights just continued to happen. But this was the one that was truly a wipe in favor of Vertex, where they were looking like they were going to get that lead. And it's similar to game 1. Once they got that lead, their comp is very good at snowballing that through, because if you're trying to force as Ground Zero, you're dealing with 3 poke champions that'll just harass you off the things that you're trying to force. And I think that was the ultimate difference maker in this best of, right? Like you kill the Victor, congratulations. He actually just pressed R and did 2.4k damage anyway. So, you know, they were a little bit too far up.
There were a lot of different breaking points, not just around the objectives. I want to talk about the team fighting in general, because what we really liked about Vertex in game 1 was how they were able to be on the same page. They were able to know who to target and really go for that one. This time around, the team fight didn't feel clean from either side, right? There were a lot of people not on the same page, on the same side when it came to Vertex, and then Ground Zero also just having really questionable engages. This is probably one of those ones there. I know that it was kind of backs against the wall for Aiko, but you do wonder, you're in this last-minute position. I don't really understand why you're going in 1v3.
To me, the question was just flanks, right? And I think this was an issue for the whole game, right? That first of all, weren't any when there should be. And second of all, it was just so disjointed. Emphas was coming in at the wrong times, not at the right... especially him and Gooby felt quite out of sync. And as we see reflected in the damage, if you're not consistently finding engages, Jace and Victor are going to have the time of their lives.
I have to say that gold difference graph is probably exactly my heart rate through this game as well. It was going up and down. I did not know what was going to happen. You were like, okay, everyone's up, and then all of a sudden no one's up, and then, oh gosh, it was a good game, but maybe not so much the cleanest game, Skim.
My voice hurts. That's all I'll say.
Oh, I'm
Did
sorry.
a lot of shouting that game. I mean, that entire series was an absolute banger. I am very impressed. I'm very happy to walk away from that and say, great performance for two teams really fighting tooth and nail for every inch.
100%. One of these breaking points again, Rusty, that you want to have a look at. It was one around Baron, right?
Drake, I believe.
Drake.
I think
okay.
it was, either way, the
Drake.
fight was really important. It's the one that you were talking about, Max, during the game. It's Emphas going in, his team's not there with him, he stopwatches, he buys time. But you have to ask yourself the question when you engage the Lissandra, what am I buying time for? Because your team right now has a Drake that has like 5,000 health still on it, so they can't finish the Drake. You don't have a team that's actually coming in. The Pantheon has to channel his ultimate and do the same thing. So if you're going to make that play, then the Pantheon needs to start channeling while you're going in. Otherwise, it's not going to be worth it. And I think, again, the perfect example of, like, you see the makings of what Ground Zero want to do, but the execution was just so far off the mark that all Vertex had to do was catch the throw, right? And they had safe hands in this game.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest gloves in this game that really helped them turn it around and catch those throws was Rosie. Got him on the line. He's joining us. Rosie, my goodness. What sort of dog you guys got in you today on Vertex? Jesus, you guys showed up.
I mean, I don't even know. Honestly, my heart's still going after that game. It's stressful.
Yeah, I can imagine. When we did our pre-game interviews, there was this talk from Aiko. He talked about that he believed it was going to be a bit of a support difference between the two teams. That was going to be the make or break for this game. I felt like it was a lot. So do you think you stepped up even more than in other series before when it came to communications to trying to maybe reel in Dante a little bit more on what he should be focusing on in team fights or objectives?
Honestly, not really. The first game, I think it was a bit of just everyone was talking a lot more, so like it made the game just feel a lot more easier. So I don't think it was just necessarily on me. I guess when it came to fights, I was able to just like get flanks off on the Alistar and get some good engages. But yeah, I don't think it was just on me. I think the whole team stepped up for this series.
Awesome.
And I want to ask a question about that Alistar game still, because you're playing against Hooper, right? So we both know that you know Hooper. Now Aiko, of course. Is it easy to get, like, you know, you go into a game against him, you have such a read on what he's like as a player because you spend so much time telling him how to play League of Legends? Like, you know, those flanks that you were getting, is it just because you know the way that he plays?
I don't think it's just the way that he plays. I think it makes laning easier because I know how the lane's going to be versus him. So, like, there's no... Like, yesterday when we came up against Bliss, we haven't really versed him that much. So, like, they honestly just took it straight to us and we got, like, you know, destroyed in the first game. So yeah, I think it was just good to know like what Hooper does in sense of lane, so like we know what to prep for.
Awesome.
Was there any moment, you gotta be real with me, okay, Rosie, in game number 2 where you're like, okay, yeah, maybe this isn't our game to win. I'm not sure if we can come back into this one.
The only point was when we greeted mid a bit, when there was just Dante alive. We're kind of thinking like, oh, maybe they could end here, maybe they couldn't, but I think once they couldn't end there, I think it's really hard for them to kind of play into our comp if we actually play it right, which we kind of messed up quite a few times by like being split off and not playing around the time. But yeah, I think for most of the game, I think like we had a control of it.
Yeah, awesome.
Is Dante in your bad books for that play at Baron, where he basically just dies to the Baron buff and you have to flash ult him?
Not really. I think it was honestly on I think it was Tomasino and Chirp ran off. Like Bram was like, oh, I have Pantheon, and those two ran off and kind of just left me and Dante like near the Baron and kind of just left us two. So I think it's on those two rather than Dante just dying to Baron. That's
fair. He did still die to Baron though, so I'm sure he'll be sad about that in the VOD.
I mean, he's sad about that entire game, to be honest. So.
Hey, it happens sometimes. Nothing else? Perfect. All right, Rosie, we'll let you go. Congratulations again on a nice tour. You guys absolutely shone so bright today.
Thank you. Catch you guys.
Yeah. I tell you, I really don't know what sort of dog showed up in Vertex today. But
a hungry one.
Yeah.
The muzzle was off.
The right kind of dog.
The right kind of dog. He got the dog in him. MVP. Who had the real dog? Who was the main dog? Who was barking the loudest on the side of Vertex to get them that MVP?
Yeah.
You think Tomasino?
I said I said it was Tomasino or Rosie, I think.
Yeah, we said Rosie from game 1, and then you're all
Yeah.
like Twitch biased. They're probably going to go Tomasino. So let's
Yeah.
see what they did go. Tomasino! Can you bark for me again, Max?
Oh!
That's it. MVP for Tomasino. His KDA of 22.518. This is one for the books. A career maker for sure. He stepped up every single time in a lot of different skirmishes, a lot of different fights in both game 1 and game 2.
Look, I apologize, Tomasino. I wasn't familiar with your game. You had a blinder performance, and honestly, it was a tough matchup as well. That Jason to Pantheon,
Oh, yeah.
if that goes bad, it can go real bad, and he piloted it very well to his credit and was a major reason behind Vertex getting that 2-0.
There were
Who's
those
holding?
concerns in both games, right? The fact that you're playing Renekton, we know how squishy that can be at the best of both times, and that popped off in game 1, was the most fed for basically the entire game. Game 2, you coming with the Jace as well and showcase that, yeah, I'm going to get 15 kills. I'm just going to drop a nuke on them. I'm going to deny any kind of early game power that they can have as well. So, yeah, phenomenal series.
It's the equivalent of like hanging up the side of a building with your arms until your teammates are free enough to yoink you back up. Like you're in peril until they're just like, don't worry, bro, we got you.
That was the analogy I was going to
Yeah,
go
it's the
for
first
as
thing
well.
I thought of as well when you mentioned it, yeah.
What is up
building,
with you
it's just
guys being
building.
so mean to me?
Your mind.
Happened to me the other day, in fact.
Honestly, same, bro. We're going to check in. This is our champion, Bingo. Right now, Max is in
Jimmy's
the
on the
lead.
board.
So everyone bar myself on the board here. Reminder that whoever has the least amount of champs ticked off will have to do something very cringeworthy and embarrassing at the end of this broadcast. And I also actually just got an extra note in my ear from production. They said whoever loses also is barred from the show next week. So
Oh, disaster.
this could be a bit of a
Wow.
rough one for all of us.
Right, adding stakes. Not only the Friday games now got a
Yeah.
prize pool, I heard from.
Yeah, paycheck is kind of on the line too.
Your
Ooh.
job is gone.
Yeah, I wish I'd known that one before drafting, am I right, guys? Anyway, I'm going to go cry in the break when we come back. Menu look mealtime to hopefully cheer me up.
His verdict. Poppy can knock you back and can flash into this pit if he so does desire. Has gone in early. There is the void missile. There is the damage. There is the strike. Headbutt pulp into the backline.
He's dead.
Shutdown found. Shaco gone. Baron still engaged. Down at 2,500. Dante untouched with the rage blade ramping.
Dante!
DPS thing getting it absolutely done as he flashes in to find his second. He gets a third. He gets a quadra.
A little bit of pressure onto Gooby, and we go for Emphis. He's on his own right now. Grand Zero have to make a move. Echo's already hit that killer instinct. DKV missiles are just not enough. The grey health, the fix, get at the time. Kench is enough to survive. Bulldog goes there one more time. What was he thinking? Grand Zero are running away.
He's got EQ, Skimmy, he's got EQ.
Oh, he tried. He tried so hard. Run, Forrest, run.